Alrighty, well, welcome to this week's Tokwa Ask Us Anything. As usual, it's been a big news week. In fact, it's been a massive news week with lots of things going on, particularly internationally. But I thought we'd start with a local event that we've got a clip of that was recorded last Sunday. It was Tokwa at the Beep Toot Honk Festival, and it went something like this.
Who was that clown with red shoes?
Well, actually, there's something that was sort of interesting. I did see part of the clip. A bit concerning to me. It looked like the coppers seemed to be wanting to have a look at some dodgy car. They seemed to be, all the doors were open, they were rifling through it. Don't know what was going on there, Pete.
Yeah. They didn't know who to write out the ticket to. The car was driving itself, parking on the footpath, and they couldn't figure out who to make the ticket out to.
I suggest they should make the ticket out to the person that's standing right behind Nigel.
That's see his response?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so Pete, since you were there, you might want to just give us a little roundup of what that was about, if you can, Super Play, while I get some other stuff ready.
Okay, sure. Perhaps Ken's not online, is he? Because he was the one that organised the event, so probably more appropriate that he share.
No, fortunately not.
Okay. No, look, it was just City of Fremantle holds these events during the school holidays to put on some street entertainment for the local residents. And we were asked, or Tokwa was asked, to supply some cars, some Teslas, as they're always guaranteed to be a hit. And yeah, I mean, the event was a great success. We had 4 cars there, actually 5, because Nigel came a little bit later as well. So we had, was it 2 Model 3s, an X and 2 Model S's?
Yep, absolutely.
And yeah, it was fantastic. People it was just a continuous stream of people. I probably would have spoken to at least 40 or 50 people, and everyone else would have done the same. So yeah, a huge success.
Pete, that was an exaggeration. Well, actually, an under-exaggeration. I think it was more like 100 people, just quietly.
The way his jaw was moving, he could have been speaking to 100 at a time.
Well, he's spoken to hundreds of thousands on the TV before, so that'd be no difficult task for Pete.
Yeah, no, it was pretty cool, especially when Harold turned the Model X dance on. You know, that never fails to entertain. So got a whole crowd gathering to watch that. And Ken and me and a couple of others with the summon, with the car driving itself, that always gets the eyeballs interested.
Yeah, there was a huge amount of interest, and several people were there going, "I've just ordered one."
And I mean, so at Langley, I think we estimated that between us that we had 10 cars there. I think we estimated we sold about 20 cars, or responsible for about 20 car sales that day. I can fairly confidently say that at least 3 or 4 people said that you know, they were either going to buy a car as a result of being there at Freo, or it was, you know, that was just the last thing that they needed to tip them over the edge and make them pull the trigger. So
several people were going up to Aussie Park for a test drive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Alrighty, well, that was basically the local news. So last Thursday, our time, Tesla held their 2021 AGM. And one of the news items that came about was, it was really a confirmation because they had actually announced the location of the AGM. And in that announcement, actually, it said that the announcement was made from Austin, Texas. So they've actually announced that Tesla headquarters effectively has moved to Texas. Obviously, in practical terms, all its personnel have to move in some time in the future, but basically that's their intention. And during it, I've actually got a few slides, but before we get to the slides, there are a few notable things discussed or mentioned, and that was that Tesla is officially going to produce the all-terrain vehicle, aka the ATV, to complement the Cybertruck at the Austin Gigafactory.
The
So
Cyberquad.
Cyberquad, yes. But if you call it an ATV, that then provides the A for the entire sexy cars statement, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if it's a sentence.
I've got a theory though, Harold. I reckon the A is being reserved for the Model A, which is going to be the 25,000 Model 2, as it's being colloquially referred to at the moment. For two reasons. A, because the ATV is not really a road legal car. So they could argue, and it sort of comes with the Cybertruck. It's, going to go into the, into the back part, into the ute part of it. So you could have sexy cars spelled out with all the road legal cars, but it also, in Elon's humor, it also leaves the possibility of Model F to come at some point. Then you could keep the A in there as sexy cars, and then you could spell out sexy AF cars.
Well, yes, and for anyone that hasn't seen what the ATV actually looks like in the back of the Cybertruck, it looks something like this.
Nice. That's it.
As long as they make it a ute, we can then start to, you can license it under your business, and then there's no fringe benefit tax. So
there may not be in any case, possibly, depending on which way the tax laws go regarding the Cybertruck. And it's got a lot to depend on its total weight carrying capacity and how the tax office treats it. So if it's declared as a commercial vehicle, then there is no LCT and there is no FBT. Sorry, no, there will be some FBT, but there's no LCT associated with it. Oh, and actually, not FBT either, for that matter.
I get all the sales.
Someone's hanging around.
Jared is messing around. Someone.
That's okay. I just muted him. It's cool. Okay, so we had the. Oh yeah, so that was a great segue before, Pete, when you were discussing the model, what you may consider the Model A, because Elon Musk actually did, as part of an answer to a question that referred to the Model 2, vehemently kill off that as a name. He basically stated that the Model 2 does not exist as a name. Yep. And then he went on to explain the other letters in his alphabet. So that's another piece of news. Model 2 is non-existent, although of course the car that currently has that nickname very much so will be. Now something else.
No.
Sorry,
It's not working.
No, we can hear you, Jared.
Yeah, it was working, Jared.
Yeah, we did see your face on just a moment ago. Okay. Oops, sorry, I've just killed off the screens. Okay, so further to that, an interesting little aside. Elon Musk was discussing basically Tesla's pressing need for battery cells. And he actually noted that the battery manufacturers asked him outright if he was going to put them out of business. And he replied that Tesla would buy as many cells that those manufacturers wanted to make at an affordable price with no limit. And he then repeated that as many as they can make, Tesla will take.
At an affordable price.
At an affordable price. So I guess it's all about haggling about the price, really. But it just demonstrates, you know, Tesla's need for batteries. And he did also explain that at the moment they are prioritizing their cell procurement to be basically funneled into vehicle production, which obviously makes perfect sense because that's the highest margin product that they can produce, and it obviously makes sense to produce them. It also explains why the Tesla Semi, or the prime mover, has been put off to production until late 2022, I think, or 2023, because it just doesn't make sense to jam it full of cells when you can split those into probably 5 or 6 other cars or cars. Now, as far as the AGM went, there are a few good slides, and this one's quite telling. Apart from the 5 record quarters in a row, and the fact that the Q3 annualized run rate is about 1 million cars a year, what it's shown is since they really started producing in 2016, or not producing in 2016, since 2016, Tesla has had a 71% compound annual growth rate in vehicle production or deliveries.
Elon commented and said that he didn't think there was another commercial product of any type that had grown at a faster rate at these sort of volumes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So it is amazing. The next slide that he's got is that the Model 3 became the best-selling premium vehicle globally in Q3. So that's beaten the BMW 3 Series, Mercedes C-Class, E-Class, Audis, well, all the Audis. So it's the best-selling premium vehicle globally.
In just 4 years.
Sorry, say again?
In just 4 years.
In just 4 years.
And Model-wise, yeah,
that's from 0 to number 1. Yep. And then he's basically stated what Pete's actually said quite wisely, and that's that Model Y should become the best-selling vehicle of any kind globally. And that's from 4 factories, obviously, Fremont, Shanghai, Texas, and Berlin, Brandenburg.
So he put some timelines around that. I think he said by 23 on a revenue basis. And have I got those? Was it by end of 22 on a revenue basis and by end of 23 volumetrically?
I think so, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And then I think the last slide I've got is Tesla's strong cash flow generation. So, back in 27, it was all looking a little bit sad. Well, on a cash flow basis, 2018 was on the cusp. And since then, the sun is shining. And in the last 4 quarters, they've got 4.2 billion in free cash flow. And, in the last 4 quarters. And
they'll only add to that in a week or so.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, one of the last slides shows why their cash flow is so good. And that's because of their ongoing focus on cost reduction. Yep. So in spite of the fact that the average selling price is reducing, so you can see in the first half of 2021, it's actually reduced significantly. Their actual gross margin is increasing significantly. And that's just because of their concentration on reducing costs, even though Elon Musk actually stated that some of the logistics costs are quite crippling and severe, and the part shortages and the fact they've had to change or was it 17 or 19 modules, Pete?
19, yeah.
19, which is rather expensive. And in fact, in many car manufacturers is literally impossible because they just can't do it. Tesla has, and in spite of that, their gross margin now is healthier than it's ever been in recent quarters.
Well, Model Y is apparently costs roughly the same amount to produce than the Model 3, and it's selling at about 10% more. And the refresh Model X and Model S are cheaper to produce than the older versions, and they're selling for a considerably higher selling price.
Yes, and that actually puts some credence to a theory that we'd spoken of a few weeks ago. I think it was actually late on a Ask Us Anything session, that it's not beyond the realms of impossibility for the Model 3 to perhaps be deleted as a model, and for it to be substituted or taken over by the Model Y to cover, basically converge the two models into one, and then you allow some capacity or some at least variance or differentiation for the Model 2 or Model A or whatever it's going to be called, the subcompact class. Now the last, sorry, go ahead.
Just quickly, so I must admit, when you first posed that theory, I was a bit skeptical, but as you started going through your arguments, it made more and more sense. And yeah, logically, I think I agree with you. I think there's a real, from a commercial perspective, it makes complete sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. If anyone's interested, we can always get in those weeds again later on in the evening. Now, the last slide I've got to show is this is just highlighting what I said Elon Musk had said earlier, which is they need a lot of batteries. And the little statistic at the bottom is quite interesting. Tesla accounted for 0.7% of car sales, but bought 26% of all cells used by the auto industry in 2020. One company, more than a quarter of all the cells used by all the car manufacturing companies in 2020. So that just shows just what a huge ramp up in battery cell production that Tesla needs, not just from themselves, but from all the manufacturers, which is why when they were concerned that Tesla might simply just decide to only make their own batteries and not buy them from anyone else, it's like nothing's further from the truth. They need as many cells as can possibly be made, and they'll take every single one of them that can be made, but as Pete says, at a reasonable cost.
It would be really interesting to see that statistic based on revenues, or better still, based on EBITDA or profit or some other earnings matrix, because you would think that the other, 75% or 74% of the market, a lot of those cars would be sold at very small margins, and many of them at a loss. So, unfortunately, there's no way to know those figures because a lot of the manufacturers don't separate out their EV earnings. But yeah, I would hazard a guess to say that Tesla is responsible for the vast majority of all the EV revenues and EV profits.
The Volkswagen takes 10 times longer to build, and they only make a profit of $1,000 per vehicle.
Yeah, and they are the second, probably out of all the manufacturers, definitely out of all the legacy auto manufacturers, but out of all the manufacturers, they would be the second most advanced after Tesla, you would think, in terms of their shift to EVs.
Yeah, but the Berlin factory is going to produce more vehicles than all of VW combined across the globe. So up to 2 million, and VW can only produce 1.8. So that's all EV, where VW are having to retrofit factories with add-ons and bits and pieces to just slow the whole process down. So it's definitely fundamentally built up to produce EVs where the other companies haven't taken that tact.
Absolutely. Before we go on, let's briefly just ask if anyone is, if this is their first time on Ask Us Anything, please say hello or put your hand up so we can welcome you formally. Obviously, the vast majority of you are returning from a previous session, so welcome back. But yeah, just briefly, if anyone is new here, please say hello so I can introduce you properly.
Rodrigo.
Yeah, hello, Howard.
Yeah, Rod, how you going? You're not new though. You're just newly returned. So
Yeah,
welcome back.
Yeah, I've got actually a personal question.
Yes.
I already got my Model 3 Tesla for almost 2 years. And I've been reading the manual saying that all those maintenance, just like the brakes and all that, do we have to go through all these maintenance things? Or
The short answer is no. My car's done nearly 187,000 kilometers and it hasn't had a single scheduled service of any type. I think Tesla do recommend, or it's said that your brake fluid
that's correct.
could do with being checked. I think every couple of years. Is that
Yeah.
right?
About
Yeah,
2
every-
years, I think.
Every 2 years, check the brake fluid for contaminants.
Yeah, it's got to be flush or something.
No, not flushed, just
No,
checked.
just-
so they
Just
have
check, yeah.
they have a probe that I think from memory actually is like a little heating probe, and it basically gets a tiny sample of the brake fluid and it intentionally heats it to measure its boiling point. And if there is moisture contamination, then it'll boil at a lower temperature. And that's an indication of basically moisture contamination, which I think is the biggest concern with brake fluid.
Brake fluid will absorb moisture out of the air. So it's hydrophobic, and the more it's exposed to air, the more water and moisture it'll actually absorb. And you're exactly right there. I used to be a mechanic. Yeah, used to to test the brake fluid and its boiling point. That water in the actual brake fluid will then corrode all your cylinders, lines, and all sorts. But especially if you're doing an awful lot of braking, that water in the brake fluid then starts to boil and turns to gas, and that's why your pedal will drop all the way to the floor. Probably never happened in a Tesla because I don't think your brakes are ever going to get hot enough to do that.
Unless you take it to the track.
Yeah.
There has been situations for some, but but yeah, no, you're right.
We'll get into those situations later in the evening. So Rod, there's the short answer is there's no real required maintenance as such, but you're more than welcome to get your brake fluid checked. Now that doesn't have to be by Tesla. Any competent mechanic can do that at their workshop.
You can buy a test. You can buy a tester online. I just bought one; hasn't come yet, so don't cost very much.
Well, in that case, you can just we'll put Richard's address in the chat window, and we can all come to Richard for a barbecue, and he can go and taste all our brake fluids.
Okay.
Anybody know where the cylinder is?
Yeah, you just lift up the cover where your battery is, and it's under there. Takes all of 10 seconds, 5 seconds.
Haven't looked that far yet.
All right.
That's the
You know where
auxiliary
you
battery,
know where
by
you
the
fill
way.
your you know where you fill your water up for your washers.
Yep.
The cover around that just lifts up, pop, 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 and it's under there.
Okay.
All right. So
So the short answer there was no, but the long answer is no.
Oh, very good. And they talk about brakes when you're in an area that has salt on the roads in the snow, which isn't us, so don't worry.
But yeah, you should check the brakes every 2 years. You should obviously rotate your tires every 10,000 kilometers. There's I think it's I can't remember if it's the aircon filter or the cabin filter that they recommend changing out every 2 years.
Yeah, that's
So one's
correct.
every 2 years, the other one's every 6 years.
Cabin
and-
filters every 2 years, Pete.
Which one?
Cabin filter every 2
Cabin.
years.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks, Alex. Nice.
Depends how many miles you do too. Let's face it. If you don't
Yeah,
drive,
I've done 180, well, 7,000 and haven't changed either, but I can tell it's due for a change. So I think I will lash out after more than 11 years of equivalent motoring in that car to lash out and buy a cabin air filter, which I'm
I
sure,
know-
Richard, you can probably do yourself. Have you
Yeah,
sorted
I'm
that
not
out yet?
I'm not
With
sure on
that,
the air.
Harold, you wouldn't bother because when I spoke to Ben the other week, they only charge you like $5 extra to do it if they come out to your house.
Oh, really? Well, there you go.
Yeah, you do it for them. They bring the parts out and do it for $5. So
And
we'll
is,
have a chat with someone.
and aren't the filters only about $80 anyway?
Yeah.
$30 each, and there's 2 of them.
Cool. Cool.
That is just incredible value.
Now we'll get to some more questions. Karen, welcome back, I think. And apologies if it's your first time, but I think you've been here before.
No, welcome. I'm not a newbie, but yeah, interested to a couple of questions now. I've had mine for a few weeks that I would love to throw into the mix later on today.
Okay, cool. What we'll do is before we go to bulk questions, we'll just finish the rest of the news item. Because like I said, it's been a massive, massive week in Tesla land. And I'll do this via Twitter. And this is courtesy of a gentleman by the name of Der Kasper. And these are some Gigafactory Berlin images, and there's a couple of videos as well showing the progress at the new factory. This is one of the images, and then we scroll down. They actually had a robot that was using whiteboard marker to mark out a Model Y, which you can sort of see the robot there. There's a few interesting sections where they had the stamping section, which is a 2,500 ton stamping machines, or actually a series of them. You can actually see them in those windows. There's basically, I think there's 4 primary stamping machines, and what they actually do is you get the first step where you do a deep drawer of the body part. So this is the under bonnet, and that's the top of the bonnet because it's in 2 pieces. And then you've got a second, and you can see the actual stamps behind. And you've got a second step with the two pieces of metal, trim and pierce. Third step, again, more trimming and piercing. And then the final step, which is the restrike, trim, and the flange down for those 2 pieces. And again, you can see the stamps behind them. We then move on to, you can already see they've got a bit of stock of pressed parts, quite a lot of stock. And I think in news, the factory has been approved to do a final assembly of 250 test cars. So they've got a permit to do that. And I mean, you can basically see there that they're probably not that very far from being able to do that straight away. And in fact, one of the Tesla employees, I think, was heard to say that they could basically get this factory running fully, well, running in 2 hours.
Yep.
And we've got a sort of interesting, the separate body panels basically being suspended by thin wires. Then you've got the body in white. Oh, and also these things, it actually says there are, I think that's 950 people, 445 robots working in that section. And you've got the cars going along as in the body of white section. And then cruising down through Twitter, this robot here, I think there's some video of this. This is a robot that actually moves a car from one level, it rotates it and then pushes it up to a higher level. I don't know what its name is, but they usually do give those robots names.
That body in white, that's not body in poverty pearl white, is it, by any chance?
That's it's
Road, cut him off.
It's possible. It's possible. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming, and it's time to go. So I think this is the one of the paint preparation baths. And it actually shows, there is a video of this actually. And that doesn't look very good. It's not very clear, but basically it's dipping the entire body into this bath, immersing the whole lot in order to make sure, I think it actually strips all the metal and makes it clean, make sure it's very clean and ready for its next coating. I wasn't quite sure about this image, whether that was depicting different layers of paint, but I'm not sure if there are that many, but that's a distinct possibility. Perhaps it shows the base coat, the clear coat on top, primer, etc. You've just got some more images from the paint shop. And there's another one there. And yeah, that's another one for the paint shop. And then you've got the actual painting robots. And cruising along, this is the casting, the mega giga casts. Right there is where the actual furnace is to melt down all the special aluminium alloy ingots. And I think there is actually an image of all of the ingots somewhere. But here you can actually see, this is the the rear casting, and that's the front casting. So of course the Berlin-made Model Ys will have both front and rear casting, unlike the Fremont Model Ys or the Shanghai ones, I think. And then you've got one of the casting. This is one side of the casting die for the rear, and this is the male part, the other side of a huge tool that must just cost squillions of dollars. And then we've got a great image of the actual structural battery pack and the front and rear casting. And then moving right along, this video shows the actual, I think this is called the formation for the battery cells. So this is when they do the cells, they have to actually form the various ion layers inside the battery. And I think that's about it for that one. And
The formation is basically the first charge.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it's critical it's done in a certain way that's very well controlled to ensure that the battery becomes properly formed and not damaged in that process. Then I think I've got.
What's just quickly before we move on, what's amazing about that is probably took you 2 or 3 or 5 minutes to go through that whole process. In reality, that whole process from, you know, the beginning of the stamping right through to the end takes a whole 45 seconds. Takes them 45 seconds to make a car. That's just, I can't get my head around that.
That is amazing. And I think it was Russell that mentioned VW. I think it takes, is it 3 hours to make a Model 3, but it takes,
It's 10 times longer for
yeah,
VW.
30 hours or something to do
Yeah.
a VW roughly.
Yeah.
And a Model 3 is roughly 3 hours from literally start to finish. Oh, there are a couple of good images. Oh, and this is something that Elon Musk actually did say, was that he indicated that the 4680 batteries that are made at the Kato Road facility, which is a pilot production line, although at 10 gigawatt hours per annum production rate, is one of the world's largest battery factories, even though it is a pilot plant. He did actually state that all of the batteries at the Kato facility would be used to support the Model Y is being produced at Texas and not at Brandenburg. So here is an image, actually. I'll just get a better image that I took a screen capture of. And this is a side-by-side view of the two versions with the 4680s and the one with the 2170s. And it looks a little something like this. So you've got the two setups, and you can actually see that this is called the Penthouse, and they are basically identical. These bodies are identical. What's different is this is the standard battery pack that we've basically got in all the Model 3s that you're driving around in at the moment.
The 2170s.
2170s. And one thing that interested me was this structural member is part of the body because the battery pack is actually mounted underneath, because this forms part of the structure of the car. And this is where the seats are actually, your seats are mounted on. The Model Y is actually mounted on risers that mount onto this. But for the structure, and you can see the actual 2170s here in the 4 modules, but the 4680 structural pack has them all packed in. Interestingly, you can actually see the cooling fins, which is different to what was described originally. Originally, they were talking about actually having a bottom cold plate, but it looks like at the moment they're doing side cooling using these fins. And you can see here that these members are attached to the battery pack and not the body, which is sort of interesting. But clearly, what Brandenburg will be producing first is this version, which is the traditional pack. And then later, they'll be producing the 4680s in the structural pack. And there were quite a few photos that I'd seen in some of the videos that I was trying to work out what actually was in some of those cars, but it's really difficult to see. But it's almost certain to be 4680s. This was one of the images I was trying to work out, because this is basically a car about to be mated to its pack, or to the pack and the underbody, all the other parts. But you can't actually see what this pack is. It's just too blurry. But it's probably almost guaranteed to be a 2170 pack.
And the other interesting thing with the structural battery pack is they bolt the seats onto the structural battery pack before they drop the top on the car. So they don't have to put the seats in and out through the doorways.
That's exactly right. And in fact, I think I have those images. Oh, yes, I do. So these images are coming right up. So again, this was just the structural battery pack. And there's a close-up. And there you can see, as Nigel described, so these structures here are part of the pack, and then these are actually the risers. So in a Model 3, the seats would sit directly onto the bottom, but they've actually got like about a 5-inch riser, and the seats are mounted onto the. And in fact, I think all of this, the center console and all of you can see aircon duct vents. That's all put in as one piece. So like they said in some of the posters at the factory, they no longer have to have robots that slide seats through the doors or through the door openings. Yeah, there you can see where the seats are mounted.
Is that because does that to dissipate heat, Harold, the way that's set up?
What, you mean the risers?
The risers, yeah.
No, it's because the Model Y is basically it's a stretched up version of the Model 3 in a similar sense that the Model X is a stretched up version of a Model S. So those bolsters are there, so you've got a higher seating position, more like an SUV sort of seating position, because that also matches with the higher roof line. So not only do you have, well, your bottom is higher off the floor, your head is actually further away from the ceiling as well, because the whole thing is a lot taller.
And even though the actual dimensions of the two cars, the 3 versus the I, are fairly similar, because you're sitting that much higher, it will feel a lot more roomier.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an awesome sitting position. It's a more comfortable sitting position rather than being squat down low, as you would feel in a Model S or a Model 3. And I think, oh yes, and I've got one last thing, and that is, this runs for 2 minutes, but bear with me because it's worth it. And I'm just checking if Peter Terran is in the house. I thought I saw him earlier. He might have gone, but that's okay. You can watch this on YouTube. For those that aren't aware, you just search Tokwa on YouTube, and all of these sessions are not just recorded, but they're published online for everyone's entertainment and enlightenment. This video here, like I said, it does go for 2 minutes and 9 seconds, but it is worth it. And I'll tell you why at the end. Can you hear that sound?
Yep.
Spoiler alert, the reason why this is so cool is listen to the actual...
From
Sorry? Yeah, go on.
That's cool.
Alrighty. Now, the reason why that was super cool, if you're not all aware, is the actual Tesla coils were part of the instrument. It was those Tesla coils that were making that primary high frequency noise in tune with the track, which is just outstanding.
And that was at Richard Cooper's house.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Richard Cooper got that from Hanshow, and he flew it over to show off.
No, he got that from Peter Terran's backyard.
Well,
Yeah.
that's right.
Shit.
When Peter does watch this, and if he comes back on, I might briefly put it on for him specifically. Yes, Pete, if you think your Tesla coils are awesome, which they are, well, I think Tesla just amped it up a little bit and just took it to the next level.
Awesome.
But yeah, that was an awesome thing, and that was basically the conclusion of Tesla's News Week. Really, was the opening of the Brandenburg factory. Well, not opening, but the opening day of the factory. And of course, if you want, you can go and look up, I think it's Tobias Lind. He has got I think it's a 2-part video. I'll just check that on YouTube. It runs for well over an hour, but it's totally worth it because he basically takes it from the front, from walking in the door right to the exit. And you can basically relive what those people saw. And I'm not violating any NDAs, but when I went to the Fremont factory tour, you have to actually sign an NDA to not disclose anything that's inside. But I can tell you, and you know, we couldn't really disclose anything. You couldn't take photos. You couldn't do anything. And for Tesla to basically have open slather with high definition video, I think Galileo Russell actually took a picture, which there is somewhere, of a crimson colored Model Y, which Elon Musk had sort of referred to because that's his favorite color. That's his Model S is in crimson. And that Berlin was going to have a more advanced paint shop and more paint options, or more advanced paint than any other factory in the lineup.
And also, I think it was Galley had got a long shot of the crimson, the new crimson-y colour.
That's what I just said, Nigel.
He thinks it might be one of the new colours.
That's right, exactly, precisely. And in
That
fact,
all burnt orange, wasn't it? I couldn't quite
it's
tell.
yeah. Look, I know Elon's listening, and sometimes he's watching, usually vicariously, and I do appeal to Elon personally. Look, I know that Damon invented burnt orange as a ideal color for your car. But I do think Tesla really should take that up and make it mainstream and really take on Damon's pioneering effort in color matching.
He'd be wrapped if he could do that.
He would be literally wrapped.
So
Very
is the crimson more tomato red or pinky red?
No, it's like a burgundy red.
It's a burgundy
Oh,
red.
okay. So that's a pink red, yeah.
It's a bit like what you
That's
have around
right.
your neck, Carmen.
Oh, this is
Oh,
yeah. It's a
No,
pink.
just in a darker light. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's more towards burgundy because crimson ranges from a pinky version to a browny red, which is more a tomato. So that's interesting. They're calling it crimson. Okay.
You might have to bring it up on the screen, Harold, just to show the colour.
Well, what I'll bring up on the screen firstly is what I think Tesla should bring out, and that is a burnt orange, which is awesome.
Russell, why do you encourage him, Russell?
With the
He
model.
doesn't need any encouragement.
I will, as you talk amongst yourselves, I will try and bring up Galileo Russell's tweet. Actually, and frustratingly, I did see a much better image that someone else took, but I don't recall who that was.
I'll send you one, Harold.
Carmen, while we are waiting, I have an update from you from last week about your radio.
Oh,
I think I have a solution for you. I think I might have misled you
good.
slightly last week. On your settings, you actually have to press a button to show the radio as a separate button. So when you go to your audio, if you press settings, you can tick the box that says like AM, FM bit radio. Then it'll display.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, then it'll display on the actual bottom of the screen as a radio button. If you don't tick that button, it by default doesn't appear on the screen. So it might be you just haven't selected that button to show the to show it.
Yeah, that's the color.
No.
That's at
No, I
SpaceX
haven't.
headquarters.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Like that.
That's actually Elon's personal Model S.
Yes. Yeah. And that's at
That's
SpaceX.
very purpley.
That's burgundy.
Yeah. Yeah.
They used to, a Lotus did a colour called Aubergine, which was that colour. It's magnificent.
Almost, not quite. You know, aubergine is dark. It's darker. It's a little bit more black than that. I've sent Harold a colour chart.
Oh,
I'm a colorist.
rightio.
Yeah, so, but I want to hear about Jared. Did I miss
Yeah,
something?
we'll do that a little bit later.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, we will. So
Yeah.
we'll do Jared after dark.
Okay.
Right after
Okay.
we
All right. Well,
um,
I'll try the audio settings and see if I can get it. At the moment, I'm having to use earpods and my iPhone.
Do you want me to take a photo for you, Carmen?
Yes. Yes, please.
I'll go do it now for you. I'll
Yeah,
send a
thanks,
photo in.
Russell.
So-
Thanks, Russell.
actually, you're right, Carmen. That's Crimson,
Yes.
which actually looks pretty close, and that's not
It's,
actually that
yeah,
close.
it is.
Yeah,
It's a bit muddy, but I think it's a nice color. It's better than the bright ones.
absolutely. Actually, I can't. Yeah, it's going to take. I'd have to get too distracted to find
Yeah.
it, but it was
Don't worry.
a blurred image. But the one that was put up as Elon Musk's Model S is basic. That's the color. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
they Model Y. And what they
Yes.
did was they had it half uncovered. Well, the boot of it was sort of half uncovered with a cover on it.
Oh, wow.
Actually,
You can see there where in a different light it looks sort of burgundy-ish, blackish. It sort of changes its tone depending on how the light hits
Yeah.
it.
In
Yeah.
the sun, it's probably going to look a bit
Pinky, yeah.
purpley.
Oh, purpley, yeah.
oh yes, here we go. I'll try and open this, but
Yeah.
it may take me a moment and I may look a bit distracted. It's not that I'm not listening, it's just that I'm trying to concentrate. But
Well, just think like a woman, 3 things at once.
I am so not a woman. I don't have that skill set. I really, oh, here we go. There we go. Found it already. Look at that. How good's that?
That's a bit girly.
Here it is. This is courtesy of Galileo Russell, and that's his screenshot. So it's actually quite a long shot. I think he actually
on my iPhone. Left it half uncovered right there. You can try and see it. We're gonna show you zoom footage on my iPhone right now, but this is the epic new paint shop, all state of the art with this incredibly new color.
So that's the color there, and that's basically
Right.
the same as Pete has shown.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it looks awesome.
So there you go. But that's a very long shot. But it's nice of Tesla to expose the cover just a little bit. There you go. So that's basically Tesla news. I'll just check my notes.
Harold, I got a bit more news.
Yes, Rob.
Okay, so I want a drum roll for this one because I've been waiting for this for like 3 or 4 years. The UWA Charger number 3 has now got a $2 per minute overstay fine.
Oh yeah.
$2 a minute. Wow.
$2 a minute.
Ouchie.
Yeah, and it's paid charging now.
That's
And
double what
that
Tesla's
kicks in-
charge.
And that kicks in after half an hour, Rob?
Yep, it's still I emailed Thomas today to confirm, and it's still the half-hour limit. So those who genuinely need to charge can get to charge at that charger, and it won't be blocked up by bludgers.
It's probably Perth's busiest charger for that reason.
Yep, just people taking advantage of free charging. So
I
I'm
think
really happy
there
with
is
that.
quite a few professors and tutors. There's always one Indian woman when I go past. That it's used all the time.
Yes, but it won't be now that it's charged for, because the same thing happened at Gwellup shops, the 50 kilowatt fast DC charger. When it was for free, no one could get a hold of it because everyone was there. Since it became a paid for service, now it's very available for anyone that wants to use, that needs to use it. So happily, the same thing will happen to UWA. Although, Rob, I think it's a discounted price. Is it
20
15?
cents. 20.
20 cents a kilowatt hour.
It's 15 and it's 45 for commercial.
Oh,
It's
fair.
basically half the price of what you'd pay charging at home on, on the standard A1 Synergy tariff, or about 25% cheaper than on the EV tariff between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m.
Yes, and one note is for anyone that wants to use it, you can obviously use it casually, easily, but that costs you 45 cents a unit. If you're registered with the Rev project and you have a smart card that's registered, you've got to send an email to Smart Charge to register it, so you get the discount, as providing you're a non-commercial user. So that would not include people doing Ubering, because that's obviously a commercial vehicle.
I don't need it very much, but I often go to lunch, so it's convenient. if it's a non-sunny day.
Yes, although it's expensive, Carmen. You actually, oh, sorry, if you do 15 cents a unit, that's right. It is cheaper.
Sorry, Harold. So just to confirm, so I've got a card that I used there previously, an RFID card that worked previously. Is there something else? Is there another step that I have to do now? I've got to send this email.
Yes. So as per PlugShare, you can also use your existing NFC card by mailing the code to support@smartcharge.com.au.
Okay, even though the cards work
hard to
the old chart.
Yes,
You got to
because
register it.
So you got to re-register basically.
yeah. Well, what you've got to do is you've got to tell Smart Charge, because Smart Charge is a third-party vendor, whereas previously it was UWA student written server code that was running the station.
And if you don't have a card, the Smart Charge people will actually send you one out in the mail as well if you don't have one.
Yep.
I got an email from somebody saying you've got to redo your details. And then I replied, okay, I've got to update something on the app or something. And then I said, what else do I have to do? He says, no, it's all done. You're now registered. I can't remember exactly what I had to do. It was weeks ago. I can't remember what I had for breakfast.
Bit like me, but yeah, no, I saw that email as well, and I didn't do anything with it. I was a bit confused by it, so hence my question. But that all makes sense because it's a different provider. Obviously, you got to register with them, so that makes complete sense. Yeah, thanks for clarifying that.
No worries.
Hey, Carmen, those pictures are on the chat if you want to look at them.
Yes, I'll take a photo.
No, they're on the chat. You can just copy them.
Sorry?
Just open them on the chat.
The chat
on the chat side. Yeah, you got to click on the chat.
Oh, okay. I'll do that.
Is Jeffrey a new member here?
I was just going to say, Rob, I just saw Jeffrey come on, so welcome to you.
Hi everyone. Thanks. I left a little comment on Facebook and you guys said, oh, we're still here. I was like, oh, that's great. I'll quickly jump on.
Oh, yes, no worries. There was no need to be quick about it. We'll be here for hours. We'll be here longer than you can stand.
Oh, that's all right. No, I'm trying to learn everything EV because I'm planning to get one. So I'm like information overloading on everything at the moment. Trying to learn.
Well, you know what?
It's a very exciting time.
If you open your funnel, we will fill it with as much information as you like.
And potentially overfill it.
Well, the thing is, I'm very passionate about Tesla, and I mean, I don't know if any of you guys have any of the Power Wars at home. I've got 2 of them at home. So the only thing I'm missing is the car at the moment. And as of this week, the fuel prices, they've changed from a 1-week cycle now to a 2-week fortnightly Tuesday cycle. So
2 weeks, Jared.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Jeffrey, that gentleman that just piped up, he's actually got 3 of the Powerwalls.
Oh, wow. That's good.
Right.
If you like, Jeffrey, we can come around and charge our cars off your Powerwall if it makes you feel better. Just post your address.
Yeah, I think I should, right? I should put a charger at the front for free. Not like you
Jared's
got to
power
pay.
walls are just for his hairdryer as well, I heard. So
Just the hairdryer and the toothbrush.
Yeah.
That's it.
So Jeffrey, are you looking at buying a Model 3 perhaps?
I'm thinking to get the Model 3 long range.
Yep.
But the only thing I'm holding off on is I've heard of the new battery, that LFP battery pack that might be coming.
No, it's already here. So
Oh,
the LFP battery comes standard with all the new standard range plus Model 3s.
yes.
So
But is it in the long range yet? It's not
No,
yet.
no, it won't be in the long range because
Oh.
the volume and weight of the batteries of the LFP, they're not as energy dense as the NCA standard batteries. So the LFPs are basically only restricted or are restricted to purely the SR Plus. Now, if money isn't such a concern, we would always recommend that anyone that's looking at a Model 3 generally go for the longer range car in most circumstances, unless you're pretty much going to use it as a city car and you're only going down south, in which case there's plenty of fast DC charges and it doesn't really matter. One great advantage of the SR Plus Model 3s with the LFP battery is, apart from the battery probably lasting longer in general, you can also charge it to 100% all day, every day without worrying about it.
Yes.
Whereas the conventional chemistry batteries of the long range Model 3 and the performance Model 3 and all of the versions of the Model S and X, which are coming later, they prefer to be charged no more than 90% generally. And then you can obviously charge them to 100% for trips, or you can even charge them to 100% fairly regularly, provided that you consume that first 10% quite quickly. So you don't let it fester at 100% for any length of time. So look, a standard range plus, in Poverty Pearl White with a black interior is $66,500 delivered to your door.
$66,403 to be precise.
Oh my God.
And that's on road.
That's
Really?
That Carmen will get very upset.
I am very upset.
Sorry,
I'm
Carmen.
upset over here.
So
Yes, yes.
Jeffrey, on the Tesla's order page, as Pete quite correctly said, you can see here $66,403.
Oh, that's cheaper than I thought. Wasn't it 68 before? Or was I dreaming?
Depends on the color.
was.
So what's your preferred color, Jeffrey?
Oh, it was going to be that gray, that silver gray.
Okay, so midnight.
Midnight.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's actually 68,000 even.
Yeah.
And then we've got the option of wheels. You can have the standard aero wheels,
Yep.
which actually look pretty good. And you've got a black interior. If you went white interior, the price goes up to 69.5.
Yeah.
So, and then all you need to do is go order now, continue the payment, and you have delivery in the next 2 to 5 weeks.
By the way, that changed today. Yesterday was 1 to 3 weeks. Even the standard range plus yesterday was 1 to 3 weeks. It's 2 to 5 weeks as of today.
I'll just check Poverty Pearl White just to make sure. No, it has changed too. You're right, Pete. It's creeping upwards.
Yeah.
Upwards.
So 66,500.
It's a bargain.
It is a bargain. It's a screaming.
Now, especially with no radio, I'm definitely writing to Elon.
It's
One of the things that I've calculated was because I work at Curtin Uni and we can salary package it, and we can even save on that GST as well.
precisely. You can do salary sacrifice.
Yeah.
One other great thing at Curtin University is and you no doubt you're already aware of this, Jeffrey, is
Charging.
Curtin Uni and at the Future Battery Industries, what's that called? It's a Cooperative Research Centre, CRC.
Yeah.
There is a 24 kilowatts.
There's a nice photo of a Lexia with a trailer, I think, as well.
Yeah, there's one with a trailer, a few boxes charging up as it can. Forget the fact it's straddling over the paving, but that's okay. Sometimes
That
you
was
got
there
to do
for
that.
3 days as well, I heard.
Sorry.
That was there for 3 days, I heard as well, that car.
Oh, really?
Well, you can live in it for a while if you need to. So yes, so that's basically an ABB fast DC charger, and you can actually charge there for free, which is
It's
one
pretty
of the cool things. Not that that's a reason to necessarily buy an electric car, but that's a bonus, a side bonus.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
You know, I don't know if you heard before, but basically there are virtually almost no regular maintenance costs. There was no 15,000 kilometre service interval. So your total cost of ownership, Pete, I think you've got some numbers on that, comparing it to a $40,000 Camry.
Absolutely. After 3 years, so if you were to include everything, so obviously your upfront cost, but your maintenance, your fuel costs, depreciation, which is the big one, but also registration and insurance, after 3 years. So let's say you've got two choices. It's a sliding doors moment. You can buy a Model 3 or you can buy an average Australian car that costs $40,000. And let's say you sell both cars after 3 years, you'll probably end up $5,000 to $10,000 ahead with the Model 3, rather as opposed to an average $40,000 car, which is, just absolutely incredible, because you're driving, the safest car on the road. It's an EV with incredible pickup. It's future-proof. It's got, free over-the-air updates, and we can just keep on going.
Yes.
And it's super cool to drive, and everyone looks at you where nobody looks at your Camry.
And
that's the thing.
You can pack so much in this car. It's amazing. It's got
There is the new Nissan product coming out, the Twig. That's coming out very soon. Comes out with a beach pack and a few other things. That's supposed to be pretty amazing.
Is that a bit slimmer than the Leaf? Is that a Leaf?
No, it's a new model. It's called the Twig.
Twig.
It's the Twig, yeah, the Nissan Twig, and it's got extended range. It does 35 kilometres total range with the extended extension lead where it comes with.
Harold, is it okay if I share my screen and show a graphic of that total cost of ownership that I put together?
And Jeffrey, ignore what Jared said. He's full of it.
I wouldn't knock off the Twig just yet, Nigel.
Aren't they 10-year-old leaves?
Sorry?
They're 10-year-old leaves.
It's coming in a few styles. There's also a button that you can push it straight to take you to the man shed. Straight to the, it's an amazing car.
very droll, Jared. Very droll.
Very droll.
Okay, so I'm not quite sure why it says connecting up there, but anyway, Russell,
Isn't it working though?
Yeah, it's sort of working.
Yep.
I don't see what's on the very left part.
Hang on.
Russell, I can't see.
Sorry, let me try again.
It was all showing right here.
Yeah, I had it. I've taken the
Yeah,
photo.
that's it.
That looks good.
Nice and clear.
Okay, I see a connecting black rectangle on the left. Does everyone see that?
I'll chuck the picture in the chat for you. If you
Looks
like.
perfect from this side.
Yep.
Just you, Harold.
Oh, okay. Okay, apologies. But okay, so we'll get that in chat in a sec.
There you go. It's in the chat.
Yeah, can you talk to it, Russ? Oh, here we go.
Oh yeah, so I did a presentation to my office a couple of weeks ago, and it's pretty much similar to what Pete was talking about just previously, but this is based on a 5-year return. And I've given a couple of variables in there for the cost of electricity as well. I've had my car for about 2,000 kilometres now, and I'm still yet to pay for any electricity that I've used. Whether that be through solar panel or just through free charging availability. And based on the resale value, that's the key mark, the resale value. you can see that after a difference after 5 years, you're looking anywhere between sort of $10,000 to $18,000 better off after 5 years. And as fuel prices go up and up, you can see that's going to be more and more, and that's based on 20,000 Ks a year.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, at the moment my car needs premium unleaded, so that's definitely more than $1.70.
I haven't paid for fuel for my car for 7 months. I don't think I've paid more than $500 in total in the last 2 years, and having done 48,000 kilometers. So I sit and look at the news and go, what are they charging for fuel? And I laugh my head off. Although I say, when you say you haven't charged for it, because I charge off my solar panels, I'm missing out on that 7 cents feed-in tariff. Gosh, that's a lot of money.
Well, I don't even have that 7 cents feed-in tariff because my panels on the roof is above 5 kilowatts. So I've got a 10 kilowatt system at home, and Synergy doesn't give you that 7 cents once you go past the 5 kilowatt mark.
Well, I got 6.5 kilowatts, but a 5 kilowatt inverter. So I get the 7 cents. Yeah.
Yes, I've got an 8 kilowatt inverter. That's probably why.
Now, just a quick interlude. I got a message from George that, and thanks, George. He said that Damo says hi, and he's on night shift at the moment, but he pulled the trigger this morning and ordered his black Model 3 Performance.
Awesome.
Wow.
So go Damo.
Oh, he'll love it.
I think so. I think so.
Definitely.
And he's very wisely done that. The War Office will be pleased. There will be no divorce. Relations will return to normal, and he's going to have an awesome car. Absolutely awesome car. So we're going to look forward to plotting Damo's Tesla journey over the next few weeks. Hopefully he'll get it very, very soon.
Question on the power thing, charging at home. Do you notice your power bills going up at all?
Oh yeah, I can't afford the power bill. It's shocking. It's like a third. It's a third the cost of petrol.
Yeah, it's anywhere between a quarter and a fifth even, depending on what rate. I mean, but if you've got a solar system and the solar system's paid for itself already, then it's, basically free. And if you can charge at shopping centres when you're out of the house for free as well, well, then you've got free fuel.
And free supercharging.
Yeah, good point. Yep.
Harold, with that cost, I was just thinking of my tax this year. This might be a question or answer for me. When you declare your kilometres, you pick the type of vehicle, and that, if it's a 4-cylinder or whatever. Is there a section in your tax for that, or do you just put it under a petrol car and you get all heaps of money back for it, and you sort of make money on the drive?
I think you have to declare. I think the tax office only has 2 sizes. It's above a certain number of litres of internal combustion engine car, and one below. There's only two numbers. That's if you do the cents per kilometre calculation.
Yep.
But you could also do the total cost calculation instead, and have a diary to do a percentage of your actual costs, or just a cents per kilometre standard calculation. I don't think the tax office has got an EV version of that.
Yeah,
which would
so
still have
essentially it's going to be better off, right? Because you're going to be getting paid $1 a kilometre or something for, whatever it might be.
Yeah, but bearing in mind that also encompasses, it doesn't just encompass the fuel costs, it also encompasses insurance, depreciation, tyres, maintenance, all that sort of stuff. It's all in the one figure. It's just that they have the 2 figures for different displacement engines because of a presumption of fuel efficiency on the larger displacement engines. So, but yes, in short, we'll get a slightly higher number.
Yeah.
Then perhaps you would actually get in reality. Yeah, but that is the ATO only has a simple definition. It's either the large car or the small car, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
But you obviously talk to your accountant, run a ruler over it, and look at your
You might
total.
want to put that disclaimer up, mate. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's absolutely right. And while you're talking amongst yourselves, it absolutely is appropriate at all times that on this show, we are the colloquial definition of experts, and that's usually a has been and a grip under pressure. But we have got the disclaimer, and I'm going to struggle to get this in time. But yeah, just feel free to jump in with Jared, you can jump in with an interlude about a leaf or something.
The twig, the powerful twig. Jeffrey, I think the twig is a good card. I think you should take it into consideration with the twig, the power compared to the Tesla models. The twig.
Has anyone looked at the Mercedes EQA?
Oh no, that's definitely not the car that you want, my friend. That's a
Not
casino,
yet, but
car.
As Russell did quite sagely put it, we must listen to this. Oh.
Once again, stand
Once
by.
again, preparing to stream. 3,
And go.
2, 1. Here we go.
The following segment is general in nature and shouldn't be taken as personal professional advice. Listeners should seek their own independent assessment from a qualified advisor and not rely on the general nature of information in this program.
So there we go. So yeah, Russell, definitely do the cents per kilometre.
It said following. Well, we've already discussed it.
No, Carmen has done that when she approached her Russian insurance guy with her policy. She always seeks advice, didn't you, Carmen?
Yeah.
And you save money through that.
I did.
That company, yeah, that's right. Compared to the other one, yeah.
Actually, speaking of insurance, I've got some news. I've been ringing around or going on the internet to try and get some insurance quotes because my policy is up the second time around again now. My premium has almost doubled since the first year, even though the insured value has obviously gone down. Now, interestingly, I went on iSelect and I went on Compare the Market as well. And none of their insurers will insure my car. And I tried Carmen's, your Russian friends at Budget Direct, and they won't insure it either.
Why?
And so there's only 3 companies that I found that would insure it, and that's Amy, Suncorp, and RAC. RAC will by far the most friendliest as far as the price and what's included. But the reason why is because it's a performance. So Budget Direct will insure you if it's a long range or a standard range, but a lot of the insurers are not insuring the performance cars.
And they've seen Pete drive.
Well,
that is very strange.
Actually,
It
Harold,
doesn't make sense.
Harold, you could probably show the that young girl from the insurance assessment that was in Pete's car that time.
Well, actually, there's actually some other footage I've got that's even more telling. And
Pete's driving.
This is basically Pete even driving. And it goes a little bit like this.
Driving. These ones are fancy. They're fast. And fuel-free. And no, sadly, it probably won't be a Porsche. But most of you will be driving an electric vehicle one day. The question is when? And what's stopping you from buying one? It could be the petrol heads. And the ordinary drivers who just love the sound and the feel of what they know.
Sorry, just going to skip it.
Others cars are really clean. Welcome to Flashpoint.
I mean, he drags off Porsches all the time. You know, what can I say?
It wasn't me. That was the car on autopilot, Harold.
Well, and then if you weren't quite sure what Pete really likes to do in his car, there are also other telling videos, which I'm sure actually does explain why his car is now uninsurable, and probably so is he.
Wow, I'll send Peter. I'll send you a because Jared. No, you won't see it. I'll send you a copy of mine. And I wrote to RAC and told them I wasn't staying with them because of the high rates and unfriendly officers. So,
Good work, Carmen.
This is
so they send me a complaint letter, a complaint form, and I said no, not required. Thank you.
right. Well, this is why Pete's car is uninsurable.
Okay, ready?
Okay,
You don't have a sore neck or anything? No?
I mean, that poor lady, she's traumatized.
No, she's out of therapy now.
I was going to say, I mean,
yeah, she's got out. She's really going very well now.
I wish her a full recovery. So yeah, Pete, with that sort of record, it's no surprise that you're finding it tough to insure your car there, mate.
I can assure you it's a policy across the board. It's a discrimination against performance Model 3s. It's not just me.
Have you had any
Yeah, it
claims,
doesn't
Pete?
make sense. It
Pete, have you
doesn't
had
really
any
make
claims?
sense.
Sorry, Jared?
Have you had any claims at all?
No, actually, so none through me, but we had the car parked, so there was no one in the car, and it was actually a police car that scratched the side of the car, but there was no one even in the car. So, but yeah, we didn't make a claim. The police were actually really good about it, yeah, they sorted all the repairs out and everything through their insurer. So, but yeah, that was about a year ago.
Was that as part of the high-speed chase that they had to stop you on the side of the road? Was that the TRG involved?
Did they commandeer your car, did they, Peter?
What's that?
They commandeer your car?
Say again, you're breaking up.
Sorry, no, I think Russell was just taking the puss.
Russell.
Yes, Russell. He was hustling you, Pete. But no, it's all good. You sound like you're a long way away. Are you in your car, perhaps?
Yeah, I am, but we've just pulled.
Yeah, right. You just pulled it out of range.
So I don't know if you can hear me better now.
Yes, that's cool.
Yeah,
it's all good. You're a busy man, as are we all. So did you?
No, Jared. No, not in the doghouse, Jared.
Oh, I was just about to say that actually. But yeah, that's good. That's great.
I think
that was a settlement thing, was it, Pete?
Say again.
There was a settlement.
A settlement.
We came to a settlement.
Oh, we got comms problems. We might have to wait till Pete's in a better spot.
Yeah, we'll wait
move that along. Yeah, so Pete, you can tell us the end of that story when you're in a better area.
No worries.
Sorry about that. Alrighty, so has anyone got any?
Tom Kendall had the question.
Yes.
Hi, Alex.
Yeah, sorry about that. Our car is regularly asking us if we want to pay the $10.99 a month for the premium connection, and at the same time, it's telling us that we run out in March 22, and I figured that if I joined or if I activated it early, I might end up losing, they might date it from now. So I was just seeking a bit of advice there. If I just activate it, will it only start in April 22?
I wouldn't take the chance, to be perfectly honest. You might as well, if it's currently working,
Yep.
it doesn't hurt to wait until it runs out, because it should turn on within seconds of you making the payment.
Okay, so sometime in February, just
actually, Joe, if you're available, you can probably speak to that to Tom, because I know you regularly or sporadically engage premium connectivity.
Yes, we do. That's it, basically. Yeah, we just switch it off and on all the time, and it's instant. You just click, say, add premium connectivity, and then the next thing you click on the screen, it'll be premium connectivity, and it takes the $10 off your credit card that's registered, the one that you pay for your supercharger stuff with. And then when you, if you don't want it anymore, you can just cancel it, and it'll keep going until the end of the month that you're in, and then you'll lose your premium connectivity. So we toggle it on and off all the time.
Most people use it, or is it just a gimmick?
We use it for
gimmick.
Netflix and stuff. It's when we go on holiday, when we go camping. Obviously, don't have a TV in the tent, so the kids sit in the car and watch the TV for a little bit. But we don't use it use it for normal use.
Live traffic updates too.
They do come on. You don't see the traffic updates on the maps, but it will. We've done tests before, and it will actually send you on a route if the freeway's got bad traffic on it. It won't send you the freeway way, or send you a different way around, and you wonder why is it doing that, and then you look on your Google Maps and see that actually, yes, the traffic's bad. So it knows the traffic, and it will route you around the traffic, but it doesn't show it if you don't have premium connectivity.
I wouldn't go without it. We use it all the time, and in fact, it would cause a divorce in our family because Kristen's in love with the Spotify. So we listen to Spotify all day, every day, and it's fantastic. So,
and I use TuneIn, listening to African radio stations. A lot of jazz they play. Great fun.
And I use TuneIn to listen to the ABC.
Yeah.
All the time, because I'm one of those drivers.
Yep.
Harold, does Telstra take your car away if you listen to ABC too long?
So, not that I've heard yet. Now, just a quick interjection, because I just see that some bloke, his background says prepare for delivery. And actually, Damon, welcome back. And
hey,
congratulations.
Cheers, Harold.
George had already let the cat out of the bag, and I'd already announced it a few minutes ago that you had actually purchased yourself an awesome black Model 3 Performance.
Yep.
Fantastic. Well done.
Thanks, mate.
So
Yeah.
When's it coming? Have you gone to Harry and said, hey, I want it now? Oh, Damo, you there?
Your mic's muted.
Just got to go.
Sorry about that.
That's it. All good.
Yeah, hopefully end of December. If not, it'll be in March.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh.
And that's brand new.
A lot of time to prepare. Jeez.
Brand new, yeah.
So did you say end of December?
Hopefully end of December, yeah, they said today. And if it's not December, it'll be in March.
What's the point of preparing now? I forget by then.
You'd bought another car.
Oh, he's got to buy all the accessories.
Some
I'm still buying accessories.
But actually, having said that, it does show on their website 3 to 6 weeks. And that's probably an Australian generic thing. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I'll be
There
very
we go.
surprised,
Damo, if he was in March, I reckon you'll get it in December.
I hope so.
22.
That's really exciting. Congratulations, Damo.
Thank you very much.
Apologies, you have to wait for it, but hey, it's going to be well worth it.
Yeah, yep.
So, Damo, are you going to hand your license in just as you get it, or are you going to wait a couple of days before you lose it?
I may as well.
Yes, don't license for more than a few weeks at a time.
Yeah, it'll be uninsurable if it's a performance model.
All right, I've got to get going, everyone, because I'm at work, and yeah, it's good to
No
talk
worries,
to
mate.
yous, and I'll catch up with you next Wednesday.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you much.
Awesome.
I'm really happy. So is the family. So yeah, I can't wait. Thank you.
Fantastic. Pleasure. Total pleasure, Damon. See you next time.
See ya. Bye.
Nice
work. Can I jump in?
So sorry, I think Stephen, you were going to jump in a little while ago. So yes.
Yeah. There's a lot of interesting comments around tonight. Just to let everyone know that on next Tuesday, Synergy are having a workshop, and they've sent out invitations to people who have attended previous Synergy workshops. About 5 years ago, I attended one, and their problem at that time was that so much power was being generated off rooftops, and they couldn't see a solution to oversupply. Now the reverse has happened. This workshop will be dealing with distributed energy resources. In other words, the uptake of electric vehicles has thrown a spanner into their works. They're now looking at how they can meet the demand and how they can do it economically. So the workshop's going to be running around how can we approach the owners of electric vehicles and provide them with a plan to charge at home or at work at a time that's suitable to them and suitable to Synergy. In other words, they would like you to be charging in the middle of a day, particularly a sunny day, not at 11 p.m. at night.
Well,
the 11 p.m. at night is bad. It's between 3 and 9 p.m. That is the, is where they have the most amount of demand. But it's like you said, it's between the middle of the day when there's excess solar in the network.
Yeah.
The problem is the WA network wasn't designed to operate at such a low level. So there's some conjecture as to whether it's 700, 800, 900 megawatts or 600 megawatts, but it's somewhere around there. Definitely at 100 or 200 megawatts, the whole thing would trip. So, that's the problem. During the middle of the day, we've just got so much solar now that the network is starting to reach those, unstable levels. But yeah, there's actually, quite a few solutions. The EVs are the obvious one. And it's very easily done because EV loads are very price sensitive and they're a discretionary load. You can charge it whenever you wish.
Yeah.
And because they're price sensitive, it's very easy to incentivize people to charge them when you want them to charge. So, that's one. Yeah, that's one solution. The other solution is stationary storage. That sums it up pretty well. The other solution is stationary storage. So, Western Power's already rolling out some of these community power packs around the place. There's actually a third solution, which is a little bit out of the box or a little bit out of left field.
Bi-directional?
But that goes towards EVs. So yeah, absolutely. But Bitcoin mining. So and actually, mining. So the whole problem, the whole reason why the network has a problem is because there's a disconnect between production and consumption. So if the two were completely aligned, we'd never have a problem. We'd never have any need for peaker plants. And the whole network will be much more efficient and much more stable and much lower cost. The great thing about Bitcoin mining is it can be as intermittent as your production. So you can turn the miners on and off at will and basically have them plug any gaps in the network. And there is no more price sensitive load on the network than a Bitcoin miner.
Or even better, go one step better. If people are into cryptocurrency, I don't know if you've heard of a cryptocurrency called Power Ledger.
Yeah, that's the Gemma Green's project. It's a WA project. Yeah,
that's the one. Yeah, that could be something that could be good. Like you incentivize when to make or when you should, sell your power or when you should actually buy your power, and that's something that they should look at.
Yep.
The other option as well is stop building coal and gas power stations and start investing in a proper solution. You don't have to worry about the peak demands because you're essentially going to have renewables that supply from a held source overnight, and you don't have that big, flux of electricity that's required to keep the system running. That's also an option.
Well, actually, what Synergy or not Western Power, but Synergy could do, or even Western, well, I don't know about Western Power, is put more of these in.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's definitely the case that it really is the price signal, Stephen. Just look at petrol. When petrol varies by 10 cents, which is for a tank that might be $5 for a full tank, people will queue for a kilometre down Nicholson Road to go to the Woolworths discount petrol station. And they'll waste 3/4 of an hour in an idling car and fuel just to do that. So imagine if an EV owner is told that between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. There's a big discount on charging your car, then they'll be in that like a shot.
What's this space?
Well, there is a better way to do it, is rather than sort of arbitrarily, or not arbitrarily, but artificially, changing the prices. You could just give the residential market access to the wholesale market or to the balancing market. There is a retailer that's already doing that on the NEM, or that's the National Electricity Market, which includes all the other states apart from WA. If you had direct access to the wholesale market, then there's a live price signal right there.
But then they charge you $100 to reprogram your meter. Because we've got smart meters, but it's only smart one way. You can't reprogram it.
Yeah, that's fine. You just pay that as a once-off, but then you
never get it back.
Actually, there's even another thing where meters these days, the digital meters are being upgraded to live telemetry.
Mine is. Mine is live, but they still want $100 to change the program. So if you
$3.70.
When you change the program, they ask you if you have a new smart meter, and I did, but then they charged me for it, and I rang them up and said, "You've charged me incorrectly," and they credited. So if you've already got one, just give them a call.
Yeah, they used to charge a different rate for a 3-phase meter, which was about $300. Different rate for a single-phase meter swap over, which was about $100. They used to charge, I think, about $60 for a existing meter reprogramming fee. But now they've bundled it all into that $93.70, and it averages out where it's where they get their costs back apparently.
Actually, I see that Tom Kendall suggested that you could buy a second-hand Russian nuclear sub, park it in Bunbury Harbour, and replace Muja Power Station. That's reasonable. I mean, actually, there's a bit of a Tesla link there, because I know that Elon Musk went to Russia to try and buy some second-hand Russian ICBMs. And that's a true story. That is a dead true story. And I think after much vodka was drunk, they decided against it. But there you go.
And recently he strapped 4 civilians to one of those ICBMs and sent them around the globe 3 times.
I think it was more than 3 times, yes. But
Sorry, for 3 days. No,
3 days.
3 times, yeah.
Harold, I know there's been some developments with Starlink over the past couple of weeks. Have you seen anything about that? There's people in around Australia who start getting connections.
No.
And there's a website I saw a couple of days ago where it actually shows every Starlink device orbiting the Earth at the moment.
Oh yes, no,
Yeah.
that's very common. I've shown that before on Ask Us Anything, and I'll grab it promptly. It's the live Starlink. Oh, it's not found. It's gone dead. That's a shame. That's upsetting. There we go. Found it again. It's this website here. So it actually shows all the Starlink satellites. And what it does also show is the current Wagen uplink, which I did actually tweet that out and showed that some weeks ago. And there's one at Cataby, Meriden, and Bullabulling, and that's no bull. And there are quite a few others. And you can actually see all the Starlink satellites, all roughly 1,000 of them. And then these ones here are the polar orbiting ones that were launched fairly recently. So yeah, basically Starlink is literally covering the globe. And the only thing that's stopping us getting Starlink in WA is, I think it's the installation of the Cataby ground station. Whoops.
Yeah, the one I saw was someone from Victoria, country Victoria.
Yep.
But yeah, they had their device and had a connection.
Oh yes, in Victoria they do have, yes, they absolutely do have them. I know that I've ordered a Starlink dish, and I believe Pete has as well, and possibly a couple of others. So, so we've got no update yet. I do believe we're waiting for Cataby.
Do you think that we'll get our premium connectivity through Starlink instead of Telstra once that starts happening?
Oh yes, I mean I'm getting it, and I mean I've got fibre to the premises, so I'm a little bit torn. You know, obviously fibre to your premise is going to be superior to Starlink at the moment, but it's certainly going to be interesting, and Starlink will transition to have mobile. You'll be able to take your dish wherever you want.
Someone I know in Victoria has received his satellite. He had a terrible internet connection. He did a speed test and got 350 megabits down and 50 up or thereabouts, because he posted the picture of it. And I'm just looking at that going, damn, I thought I was doing all right with 98, 99 down. And he had 350.
Yep.
That's huge.
Yep. And it's going to actually
low latencies too, probably.
Well, the intention is with the new satellites, they did that polar launch from Vandenberg a couple of weeks ago. They're trialing the point-to-point laser communications between satellites, whereby they won't need to use ground stations for the inter-satellite hops. And when they do that, they will actually be faster point-to-point across a continent than fibre optic cable, because light travels slower in a fibre optic cable than it does in the thinness of space. Even though they've got to go up 500 kilometres first, go across and then down 500 kilometres. So Starlink is really threatening to scalp all that premium low latency market, such as for high frequency stock trading and things like that. And possibly gaming as well for the kiddies. But yes, so Jeffrey, getting back to you, we need to get you into a Model 3 as soon as possible, because as you can see, the order book is blowing out, and Tesla are starting to sell out of these things. So, you know, the sooner you slap down that $1,000, well, I don't even think it's $1,000. I think it's probably $150 these days.
Oh, I don't even need to do that. I just need to sign a lease agreement. Done.
Well, chop chop. Today's Wednesday. You've got Thursday. Friday is the last working day of the week. So,
Yeah.
Jeffrey,
I got my
whenever-
one within 7 days of signing, giving my $150.
well, that's,
Are you
that's
saying
yeah.
something, Sarah?
that's like Richard Cooper and me. We were about 3.5 years, but one thing that we always ask the new people when they come on, ask us anything is, after they've had the car for a little while, is if they've got any regrets. And overwhelmingly, the number one regret is, and I count myself as one of those two, is that they didn't do it sooner. That's overwhelmingly that they didn't get the car sooner. That's overwhelmingly the number one regret. Because you don't know what you don't know, and once you have the car, you just find all these things about it. That no one, it's just there's too many things to tell you about. I mean, just the convenience. We often joke. So I took a ICE car, a petrol car, to a shopping centre and came back, only to realise that the car was still running with all the doors open. It was just not, Tesla, you don't have to lock the doors, you don't have to turn off the engine, you don't have to engage the handbrake. It just all happens, in the background all by itself. There's actually I don't know if you wanted to play it, Harold. If you go on YouTube on Tesla's official website, they've released a new video today about data-driven safety. So the Teslas are already the safest cars in the world, but now they're just taking it that one step further. What they're doing is they're basically saying that the regulators only test cars. I think they said in about 5 different ways. So head-on collisions, which are the most fatal, and then side collisions, which is usually, testing the B-pillar strength, etc. And but Tesla was saying that through, they've got over 1 million cars, easily over 1 million cars. They can, they've got over 2 million cars that they've sold, but over 1 million cars that are capturing all this data and sending it back to the mothership. And from all that data, they've realized that, there isn't actually that many accidents that occur from the side, that hit the B-pillar. So now they're doing, and they show you one of the tests that they're doing, which none of the regulators do.
In fact, Pete, I'll just throw to that video, and then you can speak to it straight after, if you like. Okay.
Crash Lab. Today we're doing a very special crash. We will be testing a pickup truck hitting a Model Y. As you see, it's a very small overlap. This is what we call an off-zone impact. This is the last piece of validation for what we believe is a world first.
Previously, the best way to design a safe car was for industry standard crash testing. And those crash tests are like a few grains of sand. Those grains of sand are meant to represent the beach, but in reality, the beach is infinitely complex. Every crash is different. With emerging technologies, there are new opportunities. Now we can look at the real world and design for that.
We're the only car maker in the world that has a fleet of well over 1 million cars on the road, fully instrumented from a sensing perspective.
We can know exactly where the seat is, we can know where the steering wheel is, we know if they're belted, we know when the airbag deployed exactly to the millisecond.
We know exactly what our fleet of cars is being exposed to out there. The richness of data we are collecting enables us to develop safety beyond the stars and beyond the ratings, and for situations which is simply not picked up by the regulatory rating test that we and all other car makers are doing.
Industry standard crash testing is focused on impacts directly into the door. We've noticed in the field that it's very common for impacts not to hit the door.
Once we found the gap in what the legal testing required and the types of crashes we saw from our fleet data, we decided to use our very detailed simulation models to run impacts in different locations, like this simulation here. And we use this to really tune down to the millimeter and down to the mile per hour, the threshold at which you need airbags and you don't need airbags. We use that to tune the airbags and the seat belts for optimal safety.
Conventional systems don't detect this type of crash because it's not an industry standard. This new algorithm takes into account the current sensor set, interprets it in a new way, so that we can identify this particular type of crash and provide the optimum restraint for that situation.
After we ran hundreds of simulations, it was time to test this in the real world. We have 17 high-speed cameras running at 1,000 frames per second, and camera data forms an integral part of the information that we collect in a big test like this. In the back of the vehicle, in preparation, we have our instrumentation rack, and it's got all the critical infrastructure to make sure we get all the data we need.
So what will happen is that when this pickup truck impacts the Model Y, so within 10 milliseconds of impact, the system will have determined what type of impact this is. And then it will trigger the airbag system and the restraint system to respond in the best possible way.
3, 2, 1.
So we just finished the crash test. Looks like we have a home run result. The cars even ended up exactly where we predicted. Post-crash, the detection worked perfectly. And we deployed the airbags exactly as we intended to, as we wanted to, and indeed as we predicted to. And I just had a look at the injury values recorded by the dummies, and they look beautiful. This feels awesome. This is history in the making, and this is really the end result of the entire chain of Tesla's strength in safety development, starting off with the field data, data analytics, lots of simulation, close cooperation between simulation engineers, design engineers, coming here to the lab, recreating this whole crash, performing it flawlessly, capturing the result. Now we have some post-processing to do to validate everything, but once that's done, this is in the pipeline for over-the-air updates to the fleet, improving the cars.
We have more data now than we've ever had before. We can understand real exposure, and then we can design our vehicles for that exposure.
We think over time this will change how you design for vehicle safety. It's all based on knowledge. I think this is just the beginning of a journey for us. The reasoning we're doing this is simple. It's because A, we have the ability, and B, it's because it's the right thing to do.
So just a quickie, Jared, how long do you think it would take for Bowra Panel and Paint to fix that Model Y?
Just under 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks is their policy.
Right.
Harold, Karen's just put a message up. She's got to go, but she had a question.
Oh, yes, Karen. Apologies.
Hey, God, you guys can talk, seriously.
Absolutely.
Now we're here to listen.
It's ask us anything, not listen to everything. No, seriously, no. Thanks very much. I do have to head off in a minute. So I'm the proud owner. I've had my Model 3 now for about 6 weeks and I'm loving it. But I'm trying to figure out what the feeling is regard to the full service driving, whether people have taken the leap and done it or not. And then a supplementary question, what does that auto steer beta actually do? Because I've turned it on, I can't actually sense anything happening. So I was wondering what people's experience was with those two things.
Well, first, you've got to think the reason why is because if you look at Richard, that's why you need full self-driving. If you look at it now, that's why. I think, Jared, you made $50 against that, did you, or 100?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, what was it? What's that? Sorry.
$50 or $100 off Richard tonight, falling asleep.
It was 100, and he's come in first place tonight.
Yeah, so that's why you need the full self-driving, Karen, because
because right now, turn his machine off.
So the first thing is, as you know, it costs you a cool $10,100 if you do select full self-driving. The good news is that you will be able to get that as a subscription service instead, which may cost around about $200 per month if you prefer to do that. So there's no urgency in paying that money now. The other good thing is if the price when the price goes up, which it will, you will get at least a couple of days notice. So then it won't be super urgent for you to make a decision later if that's what you want to do. The main difference between what you've got now for free is what you have now is lane keeping, traffic aware cruise control. What full self-driving will get you today as opposed to in the future, is it will have traffic light recognition. So it will stop at red or amber traffic lights and stop signs, give way signs and roundabouts. It'll do that automatically, even if there's no car in front of you. Obviously in your car today, if you're driving and there's a red light and there's a car in front of you, your car will stop behind the car in front. But if there was no car in front, it would happily careen through the intersection. As far as the FSD beta that you've seen of in the States, that's not coming here anytime soon. And yes, you only get that if you have purchased Full Self-Driving or have subscribed to that service, although that's not quite available here yet.
It's coming in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So I guess you could say, is it worth $10,000? Put it this way, when the car literally does drive by itself, it is worth 10 times that.
So no one here has kind of taken that leap yet. Then no one's.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I have. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it about 18 months ago and it only cost 7,000 or thereabouts. So it was on the promise that it would be released in a really good form within 2 weeks. And
Right.
of course, 2 weeks is a long, long time.
Right.
Reading your question, Karen, where you've said about the auto steer beta, there is the option on the screen that you select.
Yeah.
And when you select that, what it does is it shows you on your driving screen, and it will show you traffic lights, lane markings, wheelie bins, things like that you don't see ordinarily. It's just the view of what you would be seeing if you've got full self-driving. It doesn't do anything with that information.
No, so there's two toggles. There's one that says full self-driving visualization preview, which gives you the bins and the people. But then there's one above it that says auto steer beta, and that doesn't do anything either.
Yeah, that keeps you in your lane when you're driving.
Yeah, that's the lane keeping.
Yes, okay, that's not what. I'll tell you from a scary journey. That's not actually working. So, am I to enable something else for that to work?
Yeah.
No, Karen, that mainly works in emergency situations. In that, if the car senses that you're wearing past a white line,
okay,
it will auto correct and get you back into the middle of the lane.
I must have jumped ship too early then, because I was careering towards the middle of the lane waiting for it to auto correct, and it certainly didn't. So maybe I should just let it go a bit further.
No, you have to be on autopilot though. Were you on autopilot?
Okay, so the combination of the two, right?
Actually, that's not quite true. If you've got emergency lane departure avoidance,
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
that
should work.
you don't need to be on autopilot for that to work. In fact, it basically works when you're not on autopilot. So that's the setting under autopilot.
Yeah.
Emergency lane
Okay.
departure.
So maybe I didn't have the combination of those two things on at the same time. So that's good to know. I'll have a crack at that tomorrow morning on my way in.
Right, and you should also have, well, you can choose to have lane departure avoidance as either a warning, so it'll warn you if you're departing the lane. This is manual driving, or you can have assist, which will actually act like a passive autopilot where it'll gently bring you back into the lane all by itself.
Yeah, I've got it on assist at the moment. So I'll have another, now I know it's meant to do something, I'll have another crack at it.
Cool. And the other thing was the auto steer, that's basically autopilot effectively.
Yeah. Okay.
The navigate and autopilot you won't see because
I don't have that.
Self-driving.
That's right. Okay. All right. Good.
Karen, do you know how to turn on the autopilot? Have you done that before?
I don't know. I'm about to Google that. But you can tell me if you like.
So when you're driving, you'll have the speed limit on the top right.
Yep.
And then to the left-hand side of that, you'll have some other bits and pieces. There'll be a steering wheel in there, which is like a grey color.
Yep.
That means that the car recognizes you're in a situation where it can take over and drive on your behalf, essentially.
Right.
If you, with your right stalk, if you double tap it, it'll engage autopilot, which will then take you to the center of the lane, maintain the speed you selected, and steer for you as well.
So does the steering wheel color change? Because I've seen it come up grey, and I assumed that was then activated. But once that's grey, I then double tap and then it activates.
Or turn blue.
Oh.
Or turn blue
That's
after
what I'm
that.
doing. Yeah, that's what I'm not doing right. Because I keep seeing the grey one come up and thinking, oh, I must be on the auto steer, and then find myself sort of veering towards the middle of the traffic, and it's not auto correcting.
So when you have that set, if you was to just do it once, you just get cruise control.
Yeah.
So it won't steer. When you do it twice, you get the autopilot.
Brilliant.
And to cancel that, you can either just press up with the right-hand control and they'll cancel it, or you can touch the brake pedal and it'll cancel it as well.
Cool. That's great. Thank you.
Just a handy tip. Just get used to, so the right stalk to engage it by pressing it down twice, you don't have to press it all the way down. You don't have to go past the detent. So you can just do it, just a tiny amount.
Yeah.
And to disengage it, you don't have to go past the detent either. You can just do it softly and just, only move it up a small amount. You'll get feedback. You'll get audio feedback. You'll get a beep, so you've disengaged it, and the steering will obviously turn from blue to grey.
Yeah.
But the reason why that's a handy tip is if you're going below a certain speed, I don't know, can't remember if it's 5 or 7 kilometres an hour. So you could get into a situation where, let's say you're coming up to the lights and you couldn't remember whether you had autopilot on or not, and you just want to make sure that it's off. So you go and turn it off. If you go past the detent and you're going fairly slowly, it'll actually put you into reverse.
Yeah,
now,
okay.
And obviously you'll feel it and you'll start going back. But if you were stationary and you did that, thinking you're disengaging autopilot, if you go past the detent, you'll actually put it into reverse.
Right.
And then when the light turns green and you press on the accelerator, you'll be going
backward. Yeah.
very
Okay.
quickly.
A good tip.
You can also
Or just press the brake.
Yeah, I was just going to say tap on the brake. Now,
yeah, that's the easiest. Yeah, and safer.
About full self-driving, one thing it also does get you is this, which is auto park.
Yeah, that's what I miss, auto park, I've got to say, but the 10 grand is a lot just for auto park.
Correct.
That's true.
I'll come over and park your Tesla for 5.
Yeah, lots of people at work are quite happy to help me with that too.
And this
The
one
thing
doesn't
is,
do it well.
You'll never be able to justify the 10 grand. I mean, like Nigel, I paid 7,100, and there's no way you can justify the 7,100 even based on what it can do now. If you were to, if you were to be really rational about it, the way I justify it is in terms of its future value. So as Harold mentioned, when it's fully fleshed out, it'll be worth 10, if not 15 times as much. And Elon Musk even said something to that effect in that he expects it to be worth $100,000 once it's, fully operational.
Yeah.
Now that's $100,000 US, so maybe $150,000 Australian. So, one risk there is if you were to, let's say you've got your car parked and someone drives into your car and totals it, and you're, the question is, will the insurance companies be willing to keep on increasing the insured value of the car as the value of full self-driving goes up? So, if it's worth $150,000 in 5 years' time, and let's say the residual value of your car is $50,000, and you paid $70,000 for a car, which now is worth $200,000. If they're only willing to insure it for $100,000, and then your car gets totaled, you're effectively out of pocket by $100,000. So that's the risk, because Tesla won't let you take your full self-driving to your next car, unless you're on that subscription model. Then it really doesn't matter. But
So how long before they're saying the subscription will be coming in? Is that 2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. Yep.
You got it.
Okay.
What will be interesting, and I'd love to hear everyone's view on this, is whether we'll get Model Ys in Australia before we get the FSD beta button. Or if the
Good point.
FSD beta will come before the Model Y.
No, we'll get the Model Y first.
Yes.
And the
Model Y.
Roadster. The Roadster.
Well, guys, I'm going to have to leave you here. First of all, I'd like to sort of say a big thanks to Pete for dropping off the charger cables for my country trip on the weekend. That was absolutely awesome. From making the decision and having him turn up like about an hour later. And then on Tuesday, when I said I'm back in town, for him to turn up and pick it up as well, which was absolutely over the top. So,
Service,
yeah. Oh, look.
How did it
just
go? Very quickly,
fast, so it was easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
So,
good.
Made the trip really good and everything. Bit of fun. So made the wife comfortable in the fact that she's able to go to the parents' farm and not have to worry about the difficulties of charging and all of that. So yeah.
And you made it with about 30 to 40 kilometres of range left, I believe.
Oh, what, when I got back?
When you got there?
Oh, when we got there, yeah, we had about 30 Ks. That was with an ice cream stop in Mora. So, and yeah, then on the way back, we had a lunch stop in New Norcia. The lady at the service station wasn't very happy with a Tesla driver who left his car on charge all day beforehand. And when I turned up to get lunch and everything with all the family and everything, we couldn't get in there because he was back on there again, and he hadn't even bought a coffee.
Oh, what a wanker.
Yeah. So, and she said she was going to charge him for the power and everything, because if we couldn't charge there, we were going to head further down to Muche and have lunch there, because I wasn't going to have lunch at New Norcia and then charge at Muche. You know, obviously you have your lunch at the place where you're getting charged and put the money into that. So, yeah, she sort of said, oh, just unplug him. So we unplugged him, and a couple of minutes later, he turned up and unplugged me.
Oh.
Had a chat to him. He was fine and everything. And he sort of said, oh, look, you're only here for half an hour or whatever. Yeah, you go ahead. And so we were there for half an hour. Oh, not even that. We're about 20 minutes while we had lunch and moved on. Because he sort of said it'd be another 3 hours.
Yeah, how'd you unplug him?
It was just the three-phase plug. But yeah, not three-phase. Yeah, the 20 amp.
The 32 amp plug.
Yeah, the 32 amp
plug from the socket.
Yeah. The orange.
Yeah. Yeah, he was charging just off the standard system with just the pigtail on it, not the fast charger.
Yep.
So yeah, and he sort of said, no, he's got to go down to Fremantle. He was already half charged, but he sort of said they were going to hang around for another 3 hours before going all the way south. So and it was sort of, geez, I would have thought you'd been able to get there by then on a half a tank or half a charge. So, but yeah, but other than that, there's no issues. All went well. If we couldn't get filled up at New Norcia, we would have just headed that little bit further down and topped up at Muche. So, yeah.
Well, that's a good point that you make, Mark. You know, it only takes one or two to ruin it for everyone else, because if everyone does what he does, I mean, that owner's going to start charging people for using that charger. So,
yeah, she said that she will be going to start charging people for it, specifically for that. And she sort of said, no, it wasn't going to charge us because we were having a meal there, for the exact reason why she put it in there. So, but yeah, that guy is all day the day previously, and 3 or 4 hours on the day that I turned up. So
yeah, look, a lot of places like the guy Ken down in Mandurah at Silk Tie, he doesn't charge for people that are eating in his restaurant, but if you're not eating, then you've got to pay. It's only about 20 cents a unit there, but I think that's quite a reasonable thing.
Alex, have you charged up there, Alex?
No, I'm actually planning to go there on the weekend, believe it or not.
Oh, okay.
New Norcia.
No,
The
Silk
Silk
Tie in
restaurant.
Mandurah.
Oh, Mandurah.
But
Just
yeah.
on the foreshore there.
So yeah, no, everything was good. And then on the way back, we sort of the car had something like about 5 or 3% left. We popped into Karrinyup to try the superchargers, and that was amazing to see how fast the bloody thing charges. We plugged it in on charge, went up into Karrinyup, got an ice cream, and before we'd even eaten the ice cream, the car was fully charged.
Yeah.
So,
And then it's charging you $1 every minute that you're there. Your car's
Afterwards.
sitting there.
Yeah.
You got to get out quickly.
That's if the supercharger is more than 50% occupied.
Okay, because when we
So
were
if
down
you're-
there, it was empty. Our car was the only one there. But mind you, when we went down into to unplug, which was probably just a couple of minutes after it'd been fully charged, there was two other cars. So there was 3 cars in total being there. So
Yeah, so yeah, if it's like late at night or something and there's no one else there, then you are okay to be a bit late.
Yeah.
It's definitely is if it's more than 50% occupied, then you do get a idle fee once you're there for more than 5 minutes after you've stopped charging.
yeah. Yeah, but no, it was quite impressive. But hey, look, around the city would probably never use it because we charge at home every night and all things good. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
And
anyway,
are you on the special tariff, Mark? So you pay less?
I put myself. I've signed up for that the midnight tariff or whatever it is for the solar, for the meter. So they have to change my meter or whatever like that, and do that.
Yes, apologies. I should have actually mentioned that much earlier. This is probably good for you, Jeffrey, as a prospective Model 3 owner, is just Google Synergy EV tariff and you get a discount of 30% for the entire house from the hours of 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. And
Would
that's
it be
what
worth it? Because I'm already on the.
Yeah, he's on the battery meter. He's on the A1 tariff. Are you, Jeffrey?
I've switched mine to the smart tariff.
Oh, okay.
Smart
Okay.
power.
In which case, forget what I said. So you're a special case where you've got battery storage and you can get yourself from the 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. Super gouge prices of 50 cents a unit or 51 cents. So yeah, okay. In your case, Jeffrey, forget what I said. For anyone else watching, if you've got a standard L1 tariff, the domestic tariff, and you don't have battery storage and you get the other tariff, you can then apply for the EV tariff, providing you've bought your car in your own name and not a business entity. And if you have to got it in your own name, your entire house gets a discount from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m.
So Jeffrey, your house is single phase?
My house is 3-phased.
How did you get, so you got 2 batteries on?
Yes, I've got 2 batteries on.
So they're limited to 3 kilowatts of battery?
Yes, so the charging is limited to 3 kilowatts each, so I can charge at a max of 6 kilowatts.
Charge the battery or the car?
The battery.
Okay.
I don't have a car yet, so
Yeah,
that's next on my list.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not just a charge limit, that's also a discharge limit.
Yes, the discharge limit is also 6 kilowatts as well, the max. Because of I think they said it was like some Western Power or Synergy, they can't deal with
It's a Western Power phase balancing rule. Can't have more than 2.5 kilowatt imbalance between the phases.
Yes, that's right.
If you put another battery on, you
a
can
fair
get
amount
5.
of house.
Sorry, what was that?
6 kilowatts is still a lot of juice for a house, a general house, unless you got some really beefy appliances.
We've got
Put an
7,
air conditioner on and then that's over 6 kilowatts.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
we've got 7 bedrooms and a granny flat, so.
Oh, wow.
You must live next door to Carmen with a house that big.
So Jeffrey, did you say you're at the Novotel Hotel?
No, mine's the pool. The pool and the aircon and the
Full
boutique.
You know, there's new there's new pumps that you can get, inverted pumps coming that are run more efficient these days compared to the old stuff.
Okay.
And you might want to check that out with your pool company. And there's also pool heaters that run a lot more efficient as well than they used to.
I don't have a heater, but is there
pump.
any water saving devices? My water bills are really big.
Yeah, it's got a bore. Get a bore
Pool cover. Turn the tap
No,
off.
I have a pool cover.
A bore? You've got a bore?
Yes.
That saved me lots of water.
No, I don't have a bore. Sorry. Last house. Yeah.
Definitely a new pump. A new
Or a rainwater tank.
Oh, no, thanks. I'm not that green. They grow mosquitoes.
No,
No, they don't. I've got 2 rainwater tanks, and they've got
Have you,
covered.
Nigel?
They're covered, and they can't get mosquitoes in there.
Oh, okay. Well, next time I buy a farm, I'll get one.
I don't have a farm. I've got an ordinary house
Really?
on a standard sized block, and I've
Okay.
got. And my rainwater just does the toilets and the washing machine and so on.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's good.
And there's 2 benefits, because what you can do is you can put that rainwater tank on the western side of your house. So
Not
against-
designer. Doesn't fit in the design.
well, just put some plants in front of it. You'll never see it, and it will absorb the heat, the afternoon heat, so that your western wall doesn't heat up.
I can't do that. My west wall's the roadside.
Eastern
I
wall.
have I've got a heat pump for water.
Yeah, they're the most
that
efficient
good?
you can get, Alan. That's great.
Yeah.
No,
that's
they're not.
good.
They're the
And
second most-
and now
Oh yeah,
Shane,
sorry,
I-
mate.
I've got a
Actually,
builder
they're not.
coming up on my northern side. I've got a building coming up, so I won't need anything for the shade.
So, Jeffrey, are you planning on putting another battery on?
I think yes, we will. I'm just waiting for the price to come down a bit.
Luck with
It's
that.
been going the other way.
Yes,
Otherwise, that's
exactly.
gonna go up.
It's going north before it goes south.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, but I'm sure it would come down. You know, these things when you mass produce them, they'll eventually come.
Yeah.
Eventually will. So Tesla has a habit of coming out with a product at a really attractive price.
Yes.
And then over time it starts going up until the next version comes out. And, you know, the last one, the price stayed basically the same, but went from roughly about a 7 kilowatt hour to a 13.5 kilowatt hour battery. So basically halved in price on a per kilowatt hour basis. But then it's slowly started going up, and it's been going up ever since. So
It is quite pricey, yeah. Because when I installed it, it was only 12 grand.
Mm.
And it's
One
close
battery.
to 13.5 now.
Just one battery, Jeffrey, or with the gateway?
with the gateway. Yeah.
Wow, that's cheap.
Yeah. So that was 12 grand, but that was 12 grand each for each battery. So 2 batteries was 24 grand plus another, how much? I think it was
3 grand for the gateway and then installation.
The gateway came with it. It was bundled together with it as a promotion. And we took the solar as well. And it was 4.5 grand for a 10 kilowatt system plus an 8 kilowatt inverter.
That sounds like a very cheap or low priced solar system, but sounds like it paid a bit too much for the batteries. So,
Yeah, the batteries was the biggest price. Yeah.
I bought it, the second battery for about 11,000 installed. The second battery I paid.
Oh, that's
when Jeffrey, when did you do your batteries?
At the start of COVID last year, 2020.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, right. That's quite a, it was only about not even 6 months ago, and I was doing power walls, installed gateway, all the rest of it. Single 3-phase installs, under 12 grand, Hollis installed.
Wow, good.
But yeah, then they started slowly creeping up. Now they're closer to about 13 and a half, like I said.
Jeez.
But that includes everything, GST, the whole lot.
Yeah.
And how many panels they put on your roof?
32 panels.
32 panels.
Yeah.
It's 320 watt. What were they? Yinglis or Trinas or something? Q-cells. Which ones?
Oh, testing my
Oh,
memory.
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And what inverter did you get?
I got a
Right.
Huawei.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. 8 kilowatt.
Yeah.
That a solar gain system?
Yep.
Good you go, Pete. Detective. He's on it. He sniffed it out. He's got it. Under 30 questions too. Well done, Pete. Good work. He got it.
Call me Columbo.
I think
solar gain. Smells like solar gain. There you go. Well done. Good work.
cool. So now in a little interlude with some other news, courtesy of Carmen. I personally didn't know this and was I was surprised but not shocked. And that is this headline that I presume was in one of the newspapers.
Yes.
Which is that Musk has split up with Grimes.
That was a while ago, wasn't it? That was about a month ago.
Yeah, that's old hat.
Oh, right. Well, it's new hat to me. I didn't know that.
But they didn't split up because, they sort of split up because Elon said on Twitter that he still loves her. And it's just that it's becoming logistically difficult with all her, engagements in LA, whereas he's sleeping in that bungalow, in that portable, at the factory in Austin. So, he still said, I think, that he loves her. But that was about 3 weeks ago, I think.
Oh, well, apologies to the interwebs for laughing, watching it on.
I think it comes
I
out.
only just found out.
It comes out on ABC Radio next week. Harold, you might hear
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And
wasn't driving?
Wasn't Muskie now the richest man in the world? And he tweeted Jeff Bezos a silver medal.
I believe Elon Musk bought Mandra just to make a point. Is that right, Alex?
Elon Musk bought Mandra, did you say?
Yeah, I said, Elon Musk, he actually purchased Mandra.
To make a point, he's actually sold everything about a year ago, every possession that he had, except the house that it's being leased out for events to Tesla and others. And
he's couch surfing, isn't he? Basically.
What's that?
He's basically couch surfing.
Yeah.
He's got one of those fold-up houses.
Yes.
Yeah. That he paid 50 grand for, apparently.
Really? That's amazing.
And it's on site. It's on the side of the Austin gear factory.
Yeah, that's right. I think we had that on a.
Paying himself some rent there.
I think we had that on a few episodes ago where we had that video. And it was quite clever. I'll try and find it if you talk amongst yourselves.
I've got one to fill in the time for you. I'm not sure if people are aware of this, but I found out this week that the car doesn't actually have the 0 to 100 speed in reverse. It doesn't drive. It only gets to 30 k's in reverse, unfortunately. So one of my mates at work thought he could drag me, and I said I could beat you in reverse, but I couldn't. So just as a warning.
Yeah,
you need to find a bigger cliff, Russell.
A bigger what? Sorry.
A bigger cliff. It'll go more than 100 in reverse.
Good to see you awake, Richard. I won another $50 on you tonight. It's good.
I'm always,
just a little dose. One of these nights it's going to be Nigel, I reckon. I reckon Nigel's just going to cark it.
Not Nigel, my goodness.
Richard, I'm not sure that 0 to 100 or 100 plus going backwards in the air. I don't know what the terminal velocity of a Model 3 is. Perhaps you could calculate it out.
I could, but I'm not going to.
He's
Can
got,
we
a,
do
he's
that
got
with
an
a few
upgrade kit for it.
GoPros?
It's got a,
Only on special occasions.
That can be top around the clock material, that one, I think.
oh, 100%. 100%.
Yes, exactly. This is part of the video of this thing. It's called Boxable, Boxabl. And I think this is actually Elon Musk's house at Boca Chica.
Housing market that exists in California due to changes in laws where they basically legalized backyard housing in almost every backyard. Pretty cool, simple place for us to start as backyard housing in almost.
Did you notice how this bit says SpaceX?
Every backyard.
But they just try to feebly cover
Pretty
it up.
cool, simple place for us to start. But the building.
That's neat, isn't it?
Yeah, that's amazing.
That all stack and connect to
400
build
kVA
any
generator
building
on the
you can
side.
imagine. We've engineered a product that can build anything from this little casita up to a large 1,000-unit multifamily. Not only that, we think we can build them anywhere in the world. So a pretty big upside here. We think we figured out how to build any building type, mass produced in the factory, anywhere in the planet.
Anyway, so
That is great.
That's awesome.
it's funny because they had.
Yeah, it'll make a very good little holiday house.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's
You guys
almost.
set it up on Harrison Island, park down there for a week. Yeah, that works out for you.
It's almost as good as actually this house, which is actually more awesome.
For visitors as well.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yes, I like
Brilliant how home this one is.
Oh, that is awesome. That is really good. How much?
It costs
Well-
about $50,000 or something ridiculous.
The issue is
That's US
That's
too.
not much.
it actually costs more than the Cybertruck.
It's ready in 2 weeks.
It is.
Taking delivery in 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
Only in Russia though. We're starting off in Russia, working our way down to Australia. So only in Russia, Carmen.
Since that was
Well-
announced, we've heard nothing more about
No,
it.
we have actually. No,
Have
they've
we?
got a gazillion reservations. I forget how many dozens of millions of dollars they've got in orders. So it's going to go ahead.
We
But
just need the Cybertruck to put it on.
Well, put it this way, my sister bought a little converted bus and is driving around Australia. That would be far better.
oh yes, absolutely.
100%.
And I don't know if you noticed that the seats, it almost looked like you can imagine you're in business
Yeah.
class on an airplane.
Yeah, yeah.
Does.
You know,
No, it's awesome.
Very nice.
very, very nice.
I've got a question.
I saw
That's-
Harold with that safety test that they were doing at the last video you showed us, the safety side. They also, when they were doing their testing, they uncovered that the McDonald's, the Monopoly game, not everyone wins. They worked that one out as well. Just thought I'd have that in there.
That is entirely true. That is
Yeah,
very
not
true.
everyone's a winner. So
So go, Russell. You were going to say something.
Yes.
he's going to outdo.
So this is I'm not sure how controversial this is or whether It's,
Oh, hang on. So before you actually ask that question, let me just put you on pause. Let's put us on pause. Apologies to Damon and others in YouTube land. We're going to get into some weeds here, and you won't notice any loss of continuity whatsoever. And there was no loss of continuity. Hey, Damon, sorry about that.
That was the Patreon stories then. They've missed out.
We actually did a deep dive into Burnt Orange, but I'm sorry, Damon, you missed out. So, Pete, you're showing us, oh, that's the other video, yes, of the house.
Ooh, what's the thing from Mars? To cooking dinner, Dad. It was really nice.
I had some. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Looks like one of those Amarans.
Yeah, they'll show you the interior as well. You basically drive straight into the house. And it's all self-contained, so those are all solar panels. It's like a doomsday prepper's house in a way. You got your own garden. That wasn't as good as I thought. It was a different video, but you got the gist of it anyway.
Is that the one where they drink the Kool-Aid, Pete?
They got pissed on the Kool-Aid.
There's something that's a lot lower budget than that. Apologies for that sound. And this is a local product. Oh, and I haven't watched this video yet, so it could be bad.
Hi, I'm Carly Morgan from Iron Matrix. Iron Matrix is a modular steel construction technology that allows anyone to make buildings out of solar panels. Our mission is to generate, store, and deliver a unit of energy cheaper than fossil fuels. We achieve this by minimizing the amount of energy an iron matrix structure uses.
An iron matrix structure maximizes the energy it produces because it can be entirely by just 2 people without cranes, scaffolding, or heavy equipment. An iron matrix structure.
Anyway, moving right along.
I think it's a good opportunity to go straight to the doctor to see if there's any new upgrades or modifications tonight. So, Dr. Cooper?
Yeah, I can't show you yet because I haven't. Yeah, I've got some new wheels for my car, but I haven't got the centre cap, so you can't.
Teaser, say just a teaser.
Nah, not even.
Not even a teaser. Okay.
No, he's a dentist. He can't show you his face on television.
Yeah, but we were going to floss. I thought we were flossing.
And you can only pull out the truth one bit at a time, as dentists do. But
that's exactly right.
Given that we're discussing modifications, I think Russell may have.
Maybe we could say good night to Jeffrey. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Thanks, everyone. I'm going to hit
Jeffrey. Take care, Jeffrey.
Thank you. Hopefully, I'll see you guys with my car.
Tesla.com. Just go order now. Tesla.com.
We'll see your car in 2 weeks.
That's right. Everything in 2 weeks. That's right.
Cheers. Take care, Jeffrey.
Good night.
Welcome back anytime.
Yeah. So
Russell, so we're talking about modifications.
Yeah. I have upgraded the lights in my boot just tonight as well. So that's probably stage 1 modifications. But the second thing I was looking at, obviously with a long range, you get the option for a performance upgrade through the Tesla app, $3,000 for an upgrade, and it pretty much brings you halfway between the performance of a long range and a long range performance.
Oh, I like that.
So that's, I guess, you buy it on the app and then you restart your car and it's pretty much ready to go. I did do some research and found there was aftermarket solutions that mainly sort of German companies and things are offering ECU sort of style devices that plug in or piggyback off the car's own control system, which give a similar amount of performance at a cheaper cost.
How much is the cost, incidentally?
1,250 Australian dollars. Sorry.
It's frozen.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, he's been hacked.
They've tuned in.
He's not permitted to say.
Hang on, so no, my internet just stopped. Sorry. 2,150 Australian dollars.
Oh, okay. So
it's not much difference. It's like $800 difference, really. So
no, and I think the big difference is it would probably void the warranty of your car.
Yeah.
What it basically does is it just fools the drive unit to go higher power because it basically interrupts the CAN messages. It sucks them and replays a different message to go higher power. And I do believe this has been done for a while, and Tesla are getting better at detecting these anomalies and then doing something about it, which is effectively, well, I don't know whether it's shutting the car down, but effectively having a warning that says the car has detected a non-compatible device on the CAN bus or something like that.
Okay.
Because Tesla are aware of those modules. And I think something else people were doing were they were modifying the eMMC contents on the MCU, the media control unit, the touchscreen, basically. I think this was mainly in the Model S and X cars to effectively, make the car go faster or turn on certain software switches, such as your enhanced power. So,
and the thing is, you could pay all that money for it, and then, correct me if I'm wrong here, Harold, but could Tesla not, through a future over-the-air update, effectively disable it?
yes, or disable the car until you remove it.
Yeah.
Or in fact, what Tesla doesn't yet do is have an encrypted CAN bus. It's all the packages are unencrypted and open, and you can read them and analyze them, which has been really useful for things like using battery packs as stationary storage and things like that. But Tesla could, in the very next software update, lock down their CAN bus so no one can touch it except for themselves.
Okay.
So if this thing cost $500 and you thought, oh, I'll give it a bit of a whirl, it might be good for, a bit of a giggle. But if it's serious money and the difference is, 30% between, let's call it the bootleg dodgy module and the real thing, I'd pick the real thing any day.
Yeah, okay.
On that sort of metric, on that price.
Yeah, because I think they said it's fixed sort of downstream of the ECU, so I guess it's harder to detect. But once if they do encrypt the data, then there's nothing they can do anyway, like you say. But the reason why
they can. Sorry, Russell, to interrupt, but they don't necessarily have to detect it in terms of the CAN bus. They can just detect it with the sensors.
Yeah.
Because if your car's accelerating faster than a long range CAN, and they can see you haven't paid for the upgrade, well, it's pretty obvious then.
Yes. And if I was Tesla, I'd be doing exactly that. I'd be going, oh, isn't it interesting that this car that can only do 0 to 100 in 4.4 seconds can suddenly do it in 3.8 seconds.
Yeah.
Are you thinking of moving to Mandurah, Russell? Is that what it is? Or?
No, well, the reason why is I was thinking about getting that extra add-on, but in regards to, I guess, if the car gets written off or something, I could potentially salvage that part, pull it off the car, and then I don't have to pay the extra money for the insurance, and I don't have to worry about buying it again. It was more of a, trying to cover my bases that way, because at the moment, without the ability to transfer these upgrades to different vehicles, I guess that's why I was considering it.
It will make the car faster, Russell, but not that much faster that you won't be able to control it, and you'll end up.
It wasn't that I was able to control that. If I was parked on the side of the road, this could be a segue, Harold, to another video. If I was parked on the side of the road and I was minding my business and someone decided to drive along and careen into the side of me.
I was well ahead of you. In fact, I already anticipated this half an hour ago, and I actually searched for the video when we were talking to Karen about FSD and saying the problem is you could buy FSD and don't think that your car couldn't be written off in 2.5 weeks.
like that.
You're way ahead of the curve.
I was
there.
well. I was so far ahead of the curve; it was curving upon itself, and that's the story.
I've got a question here, Harold. Sorry to jump
Alex.
in. But
Yes.
say if you had the full self-driving installed on your car and you write your car off and you switch one of the modules over that stores the information and transfer that to your new car, you would get full self-driving on your new car.
They would know the difference between the old car and the new car.
Surely.
Yeah, you would have to effectively transfer many of the probably quite a few of your CAN modules. I'm not exactly sure where full self-driving lives. The switch for it probably lives in the media control unit, your touchscreen, because I know that does on the Model S's and X's. But to change that over, I don't think you can just swap it over.
Surely it'd be attached to a VIN number, Harold.
Well, that's right. So you would basically have to effectively graft most of your modules, your CAN modules from your wrecked car to your new car, your replacement car, for that to work. But what I was going to say was that when Karen had asked a question about FSD, I was going to insert don't think that you couldn't just write your car off in a couple of weeks. Well, in fact, with it being completely legally parked on the side of the road. And when I went to Facebook, the video's been removed, so it's not there anymore. The image of it is there, but the video's gone, unfortunately. So that's the second time I've touched on it.
Ask Us Anything. You can replay it from another one of those if you needed to at some point.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know how long those run? They can go for 4.5 hours.
They're still playing them they're still playing those Ask Us Anything at Guantanamo Bay, and it's working really well. Apparently, people are.
It's much more effective than waterboarding. I'll give you a tip.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Jared, if you keep this up, I'm going to stay awake, mate.
Actually, Harold was on text with Ashley earlier today. So he said he's been keeping up with the episodes and he's been enjoying them. But I think he's having to resort to Damien's strategy and only do bits at a time because, I think he's struggling to stretch out a whole four and a half hour viewership.
What colour is his car?
It's burnt red. Burnt red.
It's white.
Oh, burnt red.
Poverty pearl white.
Poverty pearl white.
Poverty pearl white. Yes, I do fear for the people that are getting induced narcolepsy from watching these YouTube videos, but
I get it live. What are you talking about?
Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And yes, and thanks for the mention, Peter. Shout out to you, Ashley. Yeah. Well, just take us in thin slices. It's okay. You can treat us like a bit of prosciutto or something like that. That's better the thinner. Yes. And Damon, sorry, with the burnt orange. It's a beautiful color. I love it. Moving right along, we got any other questions, comments, or anything on this third hour of our program?
I've got something else to add.
Go on, please do.
All right. So when I think people have had this problem before, but when you indicate and you have lane keeping on, it was very hard to remove. Very hard to remove lane keeping. But since the new update, that has fixed itself.
Yeah, it's nice now. It's really nice.
So it's really nice now. Yeah, no having to jolt the steering wheel, and so that's really good. And yeah.
And you can watch Disney at the same time. Is that right?
So yes, this is new to me because I haven't had this problem. But can you just describe that, Alex, for a moment?
So when you're on lane keeping, what the car used to do, so whenever you indicate, you used to have to either take lane keeping off completely and then change lanes, or you had to keep lane keeping on and then jolt the steering wheel quite heavily to move over or change lanes.
So this is without full self-driving. So this is the standard autopilot.
Yeah, standard autopilot.
Okay, yeah.
Which is now being corrected by Tesla from the last update. So
what does it do now then when you put the indicator on while you're on autopilot?
So when you put your indicator on lane keeping, you just basically indicate and it will basically disarm itself, and then you basically change lanes.
So it does that.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't disarm. When you indicate, it stays on. And once you start to steer ever so slightly, it disengages instantly rather than having to apply the force.
Right. Yep. But you do get that audio verification that it's disengaged as well.
Yep.
Yeah. It's nice and easy to do now, though.
Oh yeah, it's nice.
It's big improvement.
The first few times I was expecting to do it, and I've jammed it. I've just ripped across the bloody lane, thinking it was going to have to. Yeah.
There's a fair bit of force we had to put in to basically get over and change lanes. It's quite scary.
There's two ways to do it. If you wanted to do it fairly quickly, yes, you do have to apply a bit of force. But if you can be a bit patient, if you've got more time, if you just sort of put pressure on it and just let it sit there for a couple of seconds, then it will just disengage without you actually having to force it past that point. So I think the algorithm must take time as well as force into account. So the longer the time, the less force basically that you require.
I did find the other day when I tried to cross 4 lanes at once, it stopped me on the 3rd one and jolted me, and I had to refit across to go to the 4th lane.
Yeah, and then they won't insure me, but there's people crossing 4 lanes in one go.
And don't forget he did it in reverse.
There's people out there trying to drag people in reverse. They get
it's probably best that those who are in glass houses do not continue to throw stones. Otherwise, we'll have to have another loss of continuity when we wax lyrical about non-ideal use of vehicles in certain situations.
Did you see the video this week of the guy who used his Tesla to stop a hostage or a kidnapping or something, whatever it was?
Yeah, the one in Thailand.
Yeah.
Taiwan.
Oh, Taiwan, was it?
Taiwan,
I was surprised it let it crash into it. I thought it would have done the safety thing and not let it actually, impact the vehicle, but it was definitely going zombie style, that's for sure.
If you've got your foot on the accelerator, you can override that. It will do it.
Not if you've got collision aware acceleration. So it will. He must have either turned that off, or maybe he was going too slow, so it allowed him to do it. But because that's the whole point.
Just as a matter of interest for all you people, if I see you're being kidnapped, I will not be smashing my Tesla into the kidnapping car.
Yeah,
you're gone.
But Nigel, if any of us are getting kidnapped and you're anywhere near, all you have to do is get out of your car and just pull up your shirt. Everyone will see your black belt, and it's good game over.
I'm wearing a brown belt at the moment, I think. So.
Oh dear. I'm going to try and bring up that footage, but you're going to have to talk to you amongst yourselves because I think it's fairly well down on Teslarati, and it could take a few moments to get.
I think actually I'm going to do a Richard, the old Richard Cooper, and go to sleep.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm doing the same, guys, as well.
Yeah, I've got a new dog, and it's waking me up too bloody early in the morning.
What sort of dog did you get, Nigel?
Rescue greyhounds.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, yeah, I think I saw them on Facebook.
Yeah, we got one 3 days ago,
together?
and it's a bit younger than the other one, and it wants to jump up and start playing about an hour or two before my normal wake-up time.
How do you go with the greyhounds? Do they bite much or? Every
No.
time I see a greyhound, they're going to be wearing one of those muzzle things.
Oh, yeah, that's the law in WA. Stupid bloody law. Ours would lick you to death.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Or beat you up with their tail. It's wagging so much.
There you go. There you go.
Anyway, I will see
And
you
is he only a
guys.
baby?
No, one's 4.5, the other one's 20 months.
Okay.
So it didn't race at all?
One did. The
One
young
did?
one we got 3 days ago failed its racing, so it's training, so it never got raced.
That's good. Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, it's in for a good life now.
see you.
Cool.
Next week.
All right, Nigel, take care.
Yeah.
Look
Good
forward to
night.
it next week. I've got the harrowing footage of a Model X being hunted and attacked by an enraged driver in New Zealand.
Oh, yeah, that one's pretty crazy too. I don't know what set that guy off.
I don't know.
Is that the one where the
I think
Is that
that
the
guy
one
was
with the
angry
sheep?
that it was a Model X and it wasn't burnt orange. He's like, "No, I'm not having this."
That's
I'm
right.
this guy. Yeah.
He said,
Carmen?
if my next Tesla I see is not burnt orange, I'm just going to take it off the road. And that's what he did.
Carmen, you're waving?
Oh, so you're going, Carmen?
Hello,
No,
Carmen.
I was
Oh.
waving to Larry.
Oh,
Oh.
right. Cool.
He was going.
Cool. So,
I want
Oh.
to talk to Jared.
Oh, talking.
No.
New Zealand. Jeff thought nothing of it as he passed a guy driving a Mitsubishi Galant. Apparently, the Mitsubishi driver got really offended by Jeff's overtake. This started some of the craziest road rage we've ever seen on this channel. The video you're about to watch ended up being used as evidence in court to prove charges of attempted assault, reckless driving, behaving threateningly, and causing over $45,000 US of damage to Jeff's Tesla. Okay, let's dive straight into the action. Get ready because this video keeps ramping up and gets crazier and crazier. About 3 miles down the road after the overtake, the Mitsubishi driver wound up for his attack. He stopped in the middle of the road, and when Jeff noticed the guy opening his door, he floored it to get out of there. At this point, Jeff knew that something was off when the other driver, who'd been tailgating him, pulled this stunt. Jeff knew he had to get away from him. Unfortunately, traffic was building up, so there really wasn't anywhere for him to go, and the Mitsubishi driver quickly caught up with him. We can see the driver gesturing in his car. Next, he starts tailgating Jeff extremely closely. After pulling in front of Jeff again, the guy brake checks him before coming to a complete stop, once more blocking both lanes. Jeff took evasive action and quickly drove around him. This sent the other driver into full Mad Max mode, and he finally decided that he wanted to ram Jeff.
That's crazy.
First, he sideswiped the Tesla, nearly losing control in the process. Once he regained control, he continued to block Jeff. Jeff tried to get away again, but he closed the gap and both vehicles were immobilized. The Mitsubishi driver got out and started pounding on the Tesla, screaming and threatening Jeff. Jeff realized there was no way he was going to be able to argue with the infuriated man and remained in his vehicle while calling 911 and waiting for the police to arrive. After a while, the guy finally stopped hitting the Tesla. That's when another car...
Yeah, so anyway, and then it goes on. He ends up getting arrested naturally. So,
And they know each other?
no, not at all. No, not at all.
Oh.
So, and that was a shout out to, I think it's Wham Bam Tesla Cam. Great YouTube channel. Every few days they have new amazing footage of prangs and crashes. And in fact, one that's happened sometimes is this one here, which sorry, I just got to load it up properly.
So Pete, what insurance are we going with?
RAC.
RAC.
Just renewed with them. Yeah.
Riding in the left lane for a few miles, so Max decided to continue past him in the right lane. Just as he was passing, the truck driver changed lanes, clipping the back end of the Tesla. That caused the Model 3 to spin out in front of the semi, but the driver didn't notice and just kept driving, pushing Max along in front of him at 70 miles per hour. Autopilot warned Max just before the two vehicles made contact, but it was too late for him to avoid the accident. He also says Autopilot attempted to steer away from the truck, but the force of the semi pushing it was too much for the steering to fight back against. The semi pushed Max for approximately half a mile before the driver finally stopped, apparently because he felt that there was something wrong. He felt some resistance against his truck, but he never saw the Tesla. It wasn't until the truck completely stopped that the driver finally saw people jumping out from in front of him. When he opened his door, he saw it.
So there you go. That's happened a couple of times where the trucks can't, the car's in the blind spot and the truck driver doesn't even know.
Did that happen in Melbourne?
Wow.
Yes, it did, in the tunnel.
Yeah, in the tunnel. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. But yes, Wham Bam Tesla Cam, that's a great channel if you want to get into that sort of rabbit hole of looking at dash cam footages taken by the Tesla Cam.
Yeah.
So there you go. All righty, so we're getting towards the end. Oh, what time is it? Oh, sorry, I think Anand's already gone. That's okay. I'll say goodbye to you retrospectively, Anand. He's of course the gentleman that after 3 days of owning of having a Tesla, drove it to Karratha for his big long trip. So that was an awesome achievement.
Harold, before we go, did you want to get an update?
Do a little pause. Once again, for everyone watching YouTube land, we apologise for this interruption in transmission, but you won't actually feel a thing.
That was related to my question as well.
Welcome back, Damon and others. That was just like a blink for you, but it was a long discussion for us.
20 to 12 now.
Well, we're actually talking about the nuances of a crimson version of a burnt orange Model X, and Carmen, you're a genius. I reckon that's what they should do. Moving right along. So Chris, we're now talking about charging at home. So what you could do with a three-phase house or even a single-phase house is get a Tesla high-power wall connector. And the bonus of that, even though it costs $780, is that it'll charge your car. Have you got a Center Range Plus?
Yes.
Yes, 83 k's an hour. So it'll charge your car from flat to full in 4 hours.
Because I was just contemplating putting in a three-phase 5-pin plug because I've already got the pigtail that I use in.
No, it's not the same.
Yeah, but you still.
I know I'm only going to get 7.
No, because your car won't take that much. You need to buy a different device.
No, it will, Russell. No, what Chris meant was if he gets a three-phase outlet and he connects his tail, the only problem there, Chris, is that your electrician would then need to provide 32 amps at 3-phase with an RCD and a circuit breaker, so that's expensive in itself. Okay. And all you'll get from your 32 amp or three-phase pigtail, tail is 32 amps single phase. So you'll have 2 phases that you're not using that the electrician's going to supply. Now the electrician can actually connect just 1 phase. Even though you've got 3, you can connect 1 to a 3-phase outlet, and you can plug that in using your tail, and it will charge your car at 50 k's an hour roughly. But then getting,
Harold, isn't he going to get 7 kilowatts out of his UMC the same as I get off my HP
yes,
high power wall connector? So
7
it's the same.
kilowatts, but he's got to plug it into something. So he'd have to get his electrician to give him a.
What I'm saying is the ultimate charge rate is the same.
No. So if you buy a HPWC high power wall connector on a 3-phase house, you'll have 3 phases connected to it at 16 amps 3-phase. So that's
7 kilowatts in the car.
and it won't exceed any of his phase limits because, in fact, it's actually quite difficult to connect a 32 amp single phase load to a 3-phase house, because a 3-phase house is only entitled to draw 32 amps per phase total. So if you've already got one outlet that can pull 32 amps, well, in one sense, the electrician can't really connect anything else to that phase. And then there's a problem that under Western Power rules, you're not supposed to have more than a 5 kilowatt phase imbalance. But if all you can connect is one load to one phase, that's 7.6 kilowatts, then by definition, you're already out of balance. So that's a bit of a conundrum. And technically, the
I thought it was, Harold, I thought it was between 2.5 and 3.
Well, my situation is I've got a high power wall connector that I had on when I had the house single phase. So it's pulling 7 kilowatts. Then I had it changed to 3-phase and nothing's changed.
Right. So it's still single phase. Well,
still single phase.
The bad
so
news,
it's pulling off one phase only, obviously.
Yes. So on a single phase house, you're entitled to draw 63 amps on a single phase house because you only got one phase. So that would have been perfectly okay. But on a 3-phase house, you're only entitled to draw 32 amps per phase, which is equivalent of 96 amps single phase. So you can pull more total power out of a 3-phase house, but per phase, you have to draw less. So technically, Richard, it would be your electrician would be obliged to fit a 32 amp 3-phase circuit breaker in place of your main switch.
She has done, because I've got
okay.
I've got power walls and all sorts of stuff. So.
Yes, cool. So in which case it's all cool, because if your house temporarily, if any one of your phases temporarily draws more than 32 amps for, depending on the amount, for more than between a few seconds or a few minutes, it will pop.
Yeah.
It'll have to trip, and that's mandated by Western Power.
Yeah, cool.
So Chris, that's a very long answer to, look, the simplest is either get an electrician to put a 15 amp socket and you can get yourself 180 kilometers of range overnight, or just go to a HPWC. Another alternative is get your electrician to put in a 16 amp 3-phase, it's actually a 20 amp circuit, but put a 32 amp 3-phase socket in your garage or whatever, and you can buy it's called a Cons 3-phase portable EVSE that the club sells for $750 compared to other websites that have it for up to $1,280. And one bonus of that is you can use that to charge your car every day. You get 83 k's an hour. But if you're on a long road trip, you can unplug it, put it in your car, and use that as a portable 32 amp, where you can plug into 32 amp outlets and get yourself the full 83 k's an hour.
So I'm not worried about huge amounts of kilometers per hour, because I'm only down the road from Karrinyup, like literally just a couple of k's, so that's not an issue. I just want something a little bit more cost effective and quicker than just your standard 10 amp plug-in wall.
Well, if you got the electrician to just fit a 15 amp outlet, whatever cost that would cost. It would just be us, depending on how far your meter board is from your garage, whether it's a short run or a longer run.
It's quite a big run because my garage is at the back of the house and my meter box is at the front.
Yeah, right. Okay, let's.
So I think it was like 15 meters or something stupid. Maybe
You
more.
go with a three-phase outlet so you don't get the voltage drop. Juice,
Well, that's
juice it
not
up.
point two. That is another technicality as well. 3-phase is better because you get less loss. But yeah, maybe the cheapest is just to get 15 amps, Chris. Although that might cost you a couple $100 to do, it will get you a lot quicker. And then if you need it, you can always quickly top up at Caranup.
And it looks like that second prize tonight goes to Pete. He's right behind Rich Cooper.
Is that what I do? Is that
Yeah,
awesome?
that's exactly what you do. Yeah, there you go.
That's brilliant.
That's fantastic.
So Harold, my question
I've
was.
never seen myself do that.
You do.
Well, you
regularly.
don't because you can't see past your eyelids, Richard.
I'll have to go back and look at the YouTubes.
Yeah.
So
Done it
yes,
a few
so
times.
go on, go Russell.
So my question was related to Chris's question. So I actually have bought two 32 amp tails, one 5-pin and one 3-pin.
Ooh.
Right. Now
That you imported, you bought.
yeah,
Yep.
they were like $100 or something.
Yep,
What
yep.
brand is this?
Ching Chong something or other. Anyway, my question is, if I install a so I got a 3-phase home, but if I install a 5-pin 32 amp outlet wired to a single phase, can I still use the 3-pin socket to connect to that 5-pin outlet?
No,
Russell, can I
no,
just-
no. So the socket, no, the Clipsal or the AS, whatever it is, that standard, the pin configuration is different for the 3-phase version of a socket and a plug than the single-phase version of that industrial type of socket and plug. So a
Because I
single
can see the
phase.
wires, they all go to the same spots on both ones. The 3 across the top are dummies.
Yes, but they're not compatible. It won't plug in. It won't mate.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
in fact, you can try that because you can get your single phase tail and try and plug it into a 3-phase outlet and it won't fit.
Okay.
It doesn't, it's deliberately been made slightly incompatible so it doesn't fit.
Okay.
And like I said, technically, because you've got a 3-phase house, having a 32 amp single phase load is problematic
Yeah.
according to the regulations, unless you have a 32 amp 3-phase circuit breaker to replace your main switch,
Yeah. Which
is probably just an on-off switch, just an ordinary switch.
yeah, I've got the combo already installed that has that 2-in-1 thing. What's it called?
Oh yeah, RCBO. Yeah.
I got that already. Yeah.
Yes, but that's only for the circuit. That's only for the single phase going to that load.
Okay.
The entire house is obliged, if there's any possibility that you will exceed the 32 amps per phase, which obviously if you've got one load at 32 amps guaranteed, and then other loads as well, maybe a couple of lighting circuits or other stuff, or a 3-phase aircon or a pool pump or something, then your electrician is obliged to replace your main switch with a 32 amp MCB, miniature circuit breaker.
Okay.
Which,
so
yeah.
it sounds like a diminishing returns thing. It sounds like a high power wall connector is probably going to be a more
or that cons thing that we can get for you for slightly less than the HPWC, but it's got the dual purpose of being
Take it away with you.
You can take it away
It's a
with
lot. It's a lot good. Much better idea.
Yeah.
because you're basically getting two things for the price of one.
Yeah, I understand.
But yeah, so and as Jared alluded to a little bit earlier, one great advantage with the 3-phase setup is you get less volt drop, and actually it makes a big difference because we've done some experiments and you can actually lose several volts if you're using single phase as opposed to 3-phase. even at the same power level, because three-phase is balanced. There's no current that flows through the neutral pin. So you've
Yeah.
actually got less resistance on three-phase.
But if I get one of those portable ones with the different one, don't I still have to install a 32 amp outlet?
Yes, but you can install it with a
3 phases.
20 amp circuit breaker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it will, and your car will only draw 16 amps. So then your electrician is obliged to do a load analysis of your house for all the circuits to make sure it's within spec. And he obviously just enters in his analysis 16 amps 3-phase, and then make sure that the sum of all your other loads on average is less than the 32 amps per phase.
Okay.
Just be very cautious, Russell, with some of this cheap switching plugs. Be cautious with this sort of stuff. There was a company called DKSH that was selling solar switches, isolator switches, and they were catching on fire. You just got to be very cautious about the brands and making sure they have some
I just bought
reputation
them
behind them.
because I thought if I'm out somewhere and I'm stuck.
You own your own house, just make sure you be careful about what you put in your house. 'Cause it can
Okay.
go very bad on you very quickly with that stuff.
All right. So having a 3-pin and having a 5-pin is definitely not a waste of time. I might have a situation where I might use one of them or the other.
Oh, no. So, okay. So you've got a 3-pin. Anywhere in Western Australia, it's basically useless because on PlugShare, there is not a single location on PlugShare that features that 3-pin 32 amp industrial plug.
I bought one because I had an actual one in my garage already. Like I've got one to install because I picked one off a construction site somewhere. They were just chucking them out. So that's why I bought it, thinking I was going to install it at home, but I'm not sure whether I'm going to do it anymore.
No, so, but if you've already got the tail, you could actually get an electrician or someone competent to change the single phase 32 amp plug to a 3-phase 32 amp plug. And then you've got 2 tails and you can always flog one to someone else or have a spare. Since you bought the tail, you've already got the tail from.
Yeah, because both the 5-pin and the 3-pin are both only single phase, right? Because only draws.
Well, the UMC only draws single phase. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So you reckon what? Take the top off the 3-pin one and turn it into a 5?
Yes. So that way you can at least use it at 3-phase outlets, which are the ones that are on PlugShare.
Yeah.
Means you'll have a spare, mate.
You'll have a spare.
Yeah.
And you either keep a spare or you just sell it.
So don't install that 3-pin in my house, you don't think?
No, because you got a 3-phase house and you're hitting up against all those same issues.
Yeah.
It's the problem.
Yeah.
Because you're obliged to have a circuit breaker instead of your main switch, and then it can cause problems.
Understand. All right.
Because a 32 amp circuit breaker will hold 32 amps forever. It'll hold 30% overload for some number of minutes, and it'll hold 100% overload for some seconds. It's a C-curve thing, and it's got various trigger points.
Okay.
But yeah, what you don't want is for your house to go dark because you had your oven on or a hot water service or something on or aircon on at the same time as your car was pulling power.
Or would it be better off wiring that second one as a 20 amp instead for that odd occasion where I go to a 20 amp outlet?
Just get a 32
absolutely. Since you got a spare, which isn't really worth anything to someone else, they don't want to buy something that's kind of secondhand. Yeah, absolutely. Get that wired up to a 20 amp plug, and then you'll have both setups. So that's useful for, I think, Northam. I think the McDonald's at Northam, or opposite the McDonald's at Northam, has got a 20 amp, and Pardue or Sandfire Roadhouse on the way to Broome has got a 20 amp outlet. So
The man who knows every plug in Western Australia. It's nearly tomorrow. I'm going to go, guys.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it might be a good time.
Yeah.
Pete's already gone, so we're gonna welcome him welcome him back next week.
That's a key Patreon right there. That's what you get for your money as well. Sleeping time.
Actually, yes, that's right. And please remember to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell. Do support us on patreon.com/Tokwa. Shout out to Ashley, Damon, and Chris and others that are watching in small chunks. And we won't say wake up Jeff. We may try and say wake up Pete, but it's all good. And you guys all look after yourselves. Take good care, and look forward to seeing you next week.
That's great. Thanks, Harold. Great session.
Thanks, Harold.
No worries. Good night, everyone.
Jared,
Thanks, Carmen.
Jared, keep us informed and don't take no
100%.
for an answer.
Definitely not.
No,
We're all with you, Jared.
Thank you
care,
very
everyone.
much.
we are with you in spirit.
Thank you very much. I appreciate everyone's.
Good night.
All right, take care, everyone.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye.